You're saying you can't go on the trip I planned. If you don't come, you're no longer family. It's common sense since you married my son, isn't it? I and my mother-in-law said to me, seeking agreement from Cody. I halted Cody, who seemed like he wanted to say something, and reluctantly consented to her proposal. Goodness, marrying someone so naive to the world is such a hassle. As long as you understand, if you don't come, it's divorce. I'll re-educate you from now on, she continued with her ridiculous remarks. I was sick of it, but little did I know, this would be the last trip with my in-laws. I'm Liliana, 32 years old, and I run an app development company. It's still a small venture, but I love my work, and every day is a joy. My husband Cody is 37, 5 years older than me, and works at a bank. Both of us are passionate about our work, often discussing it for hours until the early morning. Cody is very understanding of my work, and we share household chores. Despite being married for 4 years, we don't have kids yet, but we both like children and hope to have them someday. My family runs an auto parts factory founded by my dad. It's now managed by my brother, which gives me the freedom to pursue my dream of starting my own app company. Even though our industries differ, I often consult with my supportive brother and dad, making my family a significant pillar in my life. Cody's family runs a small factory, and as an only child, Cody was expected to take over. However, he chose banking instead, much to his parents' disappointment. There were valid reasons for his decision. Firstly, the factory wasn't thriving, and Andy, his father, was considering shutting it down. Running a small factory is tough nowadays. As a child, Cody often heard his father talking with bank employees over the phone. Once he met a kind and cool banker during a visit to the factory and started accompanying his father to the bank for meetings just to meet him. Eventually, Cody aspired to be a banker, studied hard, and now works at a major bank. Our marriage seems fine on the surface, but it's not going well. Faye doesn't think highly of my job since I can work remotely. There are days I work from home, but she sees it as a frivolous job and doesn't understand it at all. I get it, for an older generation like our parents, my job is hard to grasp. It's not physically demanding, but it's still work, and it can be exhausting. I always adjust my work schedule around the in-laws' plans, so I never inconvenience them. I don't insist on them understanding, but it's frustrating when they think remote work is easy just because I have a flexible schedule. There are other things Effie disapproves of about us. We built our house when we got married, located about halfway between our parents' homes. Despite taking different routes, it takes less than 30 minutes to reach either house. As a dual-income couple, we manage our spending and savings separately. We value our independence and privacy, even as a couple. We contribute a fixed amount for living expenses every month, save the rest for the house, and manage our own money. Otherwise, Effie disapproves of this lifestyle too. She thinks it's wrong for a couple to talk about privacy. According to her, it's odd for family members to have secrets, and she doesn't consider them a true family. I think because Effie doesn't like me, she finds fault in everything I do. She adores her son Cody, so I'm just a nuisance to her. Every time we meet, she makes snide remarks about us not having children yet. It's something I'm sensitive about, and I'd rather not be reminded. Childbearing is a delicate topic, and usually it's polite to avoid it, but Effie brings it up every time, so I've started to avoid her to not worry Cody. I've been staying late at work on purpose to avoid meeting her. Effie has done many other surprising things, but there was one incident I couldn't forgive. It happened on the day of my best friend's wedding. After her wedding, my friend was moving abroad, and we wouldn't be able to meet as often since we both work. I was really looking forward to celebrating her big day. However, a week before the wedding, Andy came to me with a request. He had an important business reception and wanted me there. I naturally refused. The only thing more important than my friend's wedding would be a parent on their deathbed. That night, something unexpected happened. When I got home from work, my in-laws were at our house. As soon as she saw me, Effie confronted me angrily. Liliana, what are you thinking? Refusing Andy's request is outrageous. You're my son's wife. It's only natural to prioritize family obligations. Your refusal is unacceptable. You need to rethink your priorities, she yelled at me. Cody was there too, but he said nothing. After asking, I found out the reception was critical for the future of the company. But to me, my best friend's wedding was just as important. I told Effie that I understand what you both are saying, but my best friend's wedding is an important event for me, and I don't want to miss it. Besides, I'm not even an employee of Andy's company. As I said this, even Cody chimed in. Can't you make an exception this time? This is really about the survival of the company. I'm going to, and it's a family effort. We can make it up to you for missing the wedding. It's a family crisis. Can't you help us? I was shocked. I never thought Cody would say such a thing. He knew how much I was looking forward to the wedding. Then Andy spoke. I understood Liliana's point, but this time, we really needed her help. The atmosphere made it hard for me to refuse. It wasn't just any reception. In the end, I reluctantly agreed to skip my best friend's wedding. I told my friend the truth and explained why I couldn't come. Given that I had previously talked to my best friend about my family situation, she understood my predicament. In fact, she was more concerned about me. I'm fortunate to have such a kind friend. I felt guilty for missing her big day, but once the decision was made, I had to focus on making the reception a success. On the day of the event, Cody and I arrived at the venue early and tried to contact Effie. However, for some reason, Effie didn't answer her phone. As I worried about what to do, the in-laws finally arrived at the venue just 10 minutes before it was set to start. To my surprise, they were in a disheveled state, with messy hair and their suits and shirts all wrinkled. I was shocked and asked Effie what happened. "What's with your shirt? Today is an important reception, right?" She awkwardly responded, "I just overslept, Liliana. Make sure you're not rude." I was so close to snapping back with, "I don't want to hear that from you," but somehow I managed to hold back. I really want to give myself credit for keeping my composure during the reception. Effie, not knowing how to converse properly, made a series of rude comments to our guests. It seemed she meant them as jokes, but their strained smiles made it clear they weren't received well. As expected, we didn't secure the contract, and the reception ended without success. I thought to myself that it was to be expected. If I had known it would be like this, I would have preferred to go to my best friend's wedding. I was infuriated at being dragged into such a disastrous reception, ruining my plans and causing issues with the in-laws. To my dismay, they didn't acknowledge any wrongdoing. According to them, after such a lavish reception with no contract, it's almost like dealing with con artists. Good thing we didn't make a deal with such strange people. I was speechless with astonishment. How can they be so blissfully unaware? After this incident, I became even more uncomfortable with my in-laws and started avoiding them. But unfortunately, there's something I can't avoid. Cody's family has a tradition of going on a family trip every year since his childhood, and it has continued even after we got married. Since our marriage, I've been expected to join these trips, but I'm always stuck with the chores and driving, arranging hotels, booking, researching tourist spots. All these tedious tasks are my responsibility, and if I dare to voice my opinion, I'm immediately shut down with "don't overstep." Even when we visit tourist spots, I'm often left to stay in the room, never getting to visit places I like. Honestly, I dread these annual family trips and always hope I might fall ill on the day. Now, this year's trip season has arrived. Despite their claims of being financially tight, my in-laws insist on a lavish trip as usual. I was tasked with finding the hotel. I planned meticulously to keep Effie, who's always complaining, in a good mood. Since I'm the only one who doesn't drink, I'm the default driver, but I don't mind as it spares me from their conversations. However, a crisis occurred just before the trip. I received news that my mom had collapsed and was in critical condition. In such a situation, going on a trip, even a short one, was out of the question. I lost my composure, thinking I needed to see my mom as soon as possible. It was the day before the trip, so I decided to cancel and started preparing to go to the hospital. Cody offered to come to the hospital with me, but I refused. I felt like he was implying my mom wouldn't make it, which I didn't want to hear. When Cody and I went to tell Effie we couldn't join the trip, she exploded in anger. "You're saying you can't go on the trip I planned. If you don't come, you're no longer family. As my son's wife, it's common sense to prioritize the family trip, right?" "Right, Cody?" Effie said, seeking agreement from Cody. Effie interrupted Cody, who looked like he wanted to say something, as if to say she wouldn't entertain any opposing opinions. In that situation, I was so dumbfounded that I couldn't find the words to speak. Nothing could be more important than being with my mom in her critical condition. Just as I was about to respond, my brother called. "It seems Mom's condition is serious but a bit stable." I expressed my desire to rush to her, but he said visiting isn't possible right now due to a contagious disease outbreak. He mentioned that if she recovers, we could arrange a short visit later, so there was no point in coming immediately. Hearing this, I hesitated about what to do. Noticing my indecision, my brother asked what was wrong. I honestly explained the situation about the trip and my current dilemma to my brother. A bit angry, he made a good suggestion I hadn't thought of in my distress. The trip destination was near my parents' home. He assured me that I could quickly get to my family's house from the hotel if needed, and there shouldn't be any problem. Indeed, that's true. If I can't visit the hospital, staying at home or at the hotel doesn't make much difference. Accepting my brother's suggestion, I told Effie, "All right, I'll go on the trip." Effie responded, "Goodness, if you had said that from the start, I wouldn't have had to get angry. It's hard to marry someone so naive. As long as you understand, if you don't come, it's divorce. Honestly, I'll have to re-educate you from now on." Cody looked surprised, but we agreed to go on the condition that I could leave for the hospital if needed. He remarked, "It would be trouble if our driver suddenly disappeared, right?" "Oh, good, you're part of this family now, so our needs come first. Remember your role as my son's wife. This is a major event. The family trip should be your top priority." Her triumphant attitude and obvious excitement really irked me, but to avoid further trouble, I decided to endure it. On the day of the trip, I was so worried about Mom that I couldn't put down my phone. Yet Effie was drinking beer from the morning. The back seat of my car, which I was driving, turned into a party scene. I was surprised to see Cody joining in the drinking. However, this was a trip for which everyone had rearranged their schedules. I told myself that it would be nice if everyone could enjoy the trip since we had all made the effort to come. During the trip, Effie's whims were relentless demands to stop for the bathroom immediately or to go to the grocery store for more alcohol. I felt like a servant, but I was prepared to endure such things. That's when my mobile phone rang. It was a call from my brother, thankfully informing me that Mom had survived. Her condition had stabilized and she had regained consciousness. The diagnosis was subarachnoid hemorrhage. However, I couldn't be completely at ease yet. There were concerns about potential after effects. It was reassuring to have my brother keeping me updated as I was feeling anxious. When I shared the news of Mom's recovery with my in-laws, Effie commented, "If she's better, there's no need to bother us with such news. You're making a big deal out of nothing." And then Andy added, "Exactly, no need to spoil our trip with such grim news. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves." I was disgusted that Andy shared Effie's view and didn't want to think of these people as my family. During the trip, they made a ruckus in the hotel, drinking and partying, which was truly embarrassing. This incident deepened my distrust of my in-laws. Thankfully, Mom's condition remained stable, and there was no need to rush to the hospital, allowing us to complete the trip and return home. I was relieved. While I was sorting out the laundry, Effie came to our house. Wondering what it could be this time, she said, "You have a dryer at your house, right?" "We don't have one, so let me use it," and showed up with loads of laundry. I was exasperated and replied, "There's a laundromat with dryers. I have a load of laundry of my own, and I'm using it right now, so it's not possible." To which she retorted, "Always so stingy. Once you're done, it's fine. I'll come to pick it up tomorrow. Leave it finished by then," and attempted to leave her laundry in our washroom. Cody stepped in. "Go to a laundromat. Liliana is tired, and she has to work tomorrow. It's not possible." Effie got angry, feeling her son was defending me. She left in a hurry, spewing insults and slamming the door, leaving the laundry behind. In hindsight, if things had been different that day, maybe the course of events would have changed. Later, Effie returned and said, "During the trip, I realized something, Liliana. You lack awareness of being married to Cody. We might face similar situations in the future. Since we couldn't discuss it, I've decided that Liliana should make a decision." She put a family contract and divorce papers on the table. I was speechless. What even is a family contract? It was ridiculous and confirmed my belief that she can't have a normal conversation. The saving grace was Cody's reaction. He said, "I have something to say. If you keep imposing your biased views on us, I'll cut ties. I can't deal with this anymore." "What do you think, Liliana? She's not your servant or housekeeper. You're the one who's mistaken about your position." Effie was stunned. Until now, Cody had hardly ever opposed anything. It wasn't because he agreed with Effie's ideas, but rather he kept quiet to avoid the hassle. Following Cody's words, Effie's anger turned towards me. "You've changed Cody since marrying him. He used to be so sweet. It's crazy for him to talk to me like that. You must have brainwashed him. Turn him back to the old Cody," she accused, confronting me. She believed I had supposedly brainwashed Cody into defying her. But then Cody spoke up for me. The one doing the brainwashing is you, right? Always going on a rampage without listening to anyone's opinion. Frankly, you're a toxic parent. You never let me do what I wanted to after getting married. Instead of calming down, you started spewing your venom at Liliana. Enough is enough. I'm not going to divorce, and if you have a problem, you should stay out of our lives, Cody said. Hearing this, Effie turned to Andy, who was with her, and burst into tears. Andy responded, "If that's what Cody thinks, then fine. We'll cut ties, do whatever you want," and stormed out. I was surprised but happy that Cody stood up for us like that. Feeling frustrated, I told my brother about this. He became furious, saying he couldn't stay silent if they were acting this way. He decided to take action. It led to a tragedy in the in-laws' family. Turns out, my brother's company was a client of my in-laws' company. We had kept our family's company name a secret to avoid creating a power imbalance. The in-laws had no idea they were dealing with my family's company. But with things as they were, we couldn't continue like this. Though I had been patient, avoiding mixing business and personal matters, it had reached its limit. My brother had been having issues with them not meeting deadlines. "You can't cherish those who don't cherish you," he said. I discussed it with Cody before talking to the in-laws, and he agreed. Cody also said he had had enough. My brother ended the contract with the in-laws company. It was a business decision. They had been a problematic company, not paying on time and missing deadlines. But we had tolerated it because it was Cody's family's business. But there was no longer a need for that. Later, when my in-laws found out about this, they came to us in tears. Now they're constantly apologizing. They pleaded with my brother to reconsider the contract, but of course, that was impossible. It was their responsibility for not meeting deadlines. They should have been grateful for our patience. Cody explained everything to his parents, but they refused to accept it and ended up cutting ties in a rage. Cody wasn't sad. He felt relieved. He had been torn and tired, struggling between us and his family. Since then, we've been living peacefully. I learned that Cody had been supporting his family financially, but he stopped that. Now the in-laws' factory went bankrupt. Even without this incident, it was on the brink of closure, drowning in debt. I heard that Cody had been paying for those annual trips, and it's astonishing how they could behave that way, using someone else's money. Now the in-laws are living modestly, and Effie has recently started working. I was honestly surprised to see her, who used to call herself a president's wife, working. One day I saw Effie being scolded while doing a cleaning job. I felt bad for thinking this was karma. She'll learn the harsh realities of society and hopefully straighten out. As for us, work is going well. We haven't had children yet, but we enjoy our jobs and life is fulfilling. We're planning an overseas trip for our next vacation. For a while, we're thinking of enjoying life without children.
The first thing I noticed when I walked into my childhood home was that my mother had vanished. Not physically, she'd been gone for 2 years now, but every trace of her existence had been meticulously erased. Where her favourite painting of sunflowers once brightened the entryway, an abstract piece in cold blues and greys now dominated the wall. Her antique side table, the one she'd lovingly restored herself, had been replaced by a sleek, modern console. I'm Beatrice, and I was standing in what felt like a stranger's house. "Darling, you're early," Francesca's voice carried from the kitchen, syrupy sweet and somehow still sharp. My father's new wife emerged, wiping her hands on an apron I'd never seen before. "We weren't expecting you for another hour." Traffic was light, I managed, my throat tight. "Where's Dad?" "Still at the office. You know how he gets with his cases?" She gestured around the transformed space. "Do you like what I've done with the place? It needed a fresh start, don't you think?" Before I could answer, the front door opened again. My brother Jeremy walked in, his tie loosened and jacket slung over his shoulder. His eyes met mine, and I saw my own discomfort reflected there. "B," he said, pulling me into a quick hug. "You look tired," I supplied. "It's been a long drive." "Children," Francesca clapped her hands. "Why don't you both help me set the table? I've made my special risotto." As we followed her to the dining room, I noticed my mother's china cabinet was gone. In its place stood a minimalist shelving unit, displaying abstract sculptures. "Where's Mom's china?" The words burst out before I could stop them. Francesca paused, her back stiffening slightly. "Oh, those old things. They were quite dated, weren't they?" I've packed them away somewhere safe. Somewhere safe, I echoed. They're family heirlooms. Bae, Jeremy warned quietly. The doorbell rang, saving us from the brewing tension. Francesca brightened immediately. That must be Noelle. I invited my sister to join us. I watched as she hurried to the door, greeting a tall woman with the same honey-blonde hair but sharper features. Something passed between the sisters, a look I couldn't quite interpret, before Noelle's smile fixed firmly in place. You must be Beatrice, Noelle said, extending her hand. I've heard so much about you. Funny, I replied, shaking her hand. I've heard almost nothing about you. Dad arrived just as Francesca was serving dinner. He kissed her cheek, ruffled my hair like I was still 12, and took his place at the head of the table, my mother's old chair. So, Beatrice, Francesca began, spooning risotto onto everyone's plates. How's the final year of college going? Still pursuing that? What was it again? Psychology, I said. And it's going well. Ah, yes, psychology. She exchanged a meaningful look with my father. Have you given any thought to law school? Your father and I were just discussing how well you'd fit into the family practice. I pushed the risotto around my plate. I'm planning to get my master's in counselling, actually. I've already been accepted to. Beatrice, Dad interrupted, we've talked about this. The firm needs fresh blood, and you've got the Ryan instincts. I have my own plans, Dad. Plans change, sweetheart. Francesca reached across the table to pat my hand. I resisted the urge to pull away. Family should come first, don't you think? That's when I noticed it. The way Noelle's knuckles whitened around her wine glass, the slight shake of her head at her sister's words. There was a story there, something hidden beneath the surface. Speaking of family, I said carefully, I was hoping to hang Mom's portrait back up in the study. I noticed it was taken down. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Francesca's fork clinked against her plate. Oh, darling, she said, her voice dripping with manufactured sympathy. We agreed it was time to move forward, didn't we, Ulysses? Dad cleared his throat. It's for the best, Bea. We can't live in the past forever. I looked at Jeremy, but he was suddenly very interested in his food. Noelle, however, was watching her sister with an expression I couldn't quite read. Was it fear? Disgust? Of course, I said finally, forcing a smile. Moving forward. That's what Mom would want, right? But as I sat there, watching Francesca orchestrate her perfect family dinner in my mother's house, wearing my mother's apron, which I'd just recognized, serving food on new plates that erased decades of family memories, I made a decision. This wasn't about moving forward. This was about erasure. And I wasn't going to let it happen. She's literally erasing my mother from existence, Wendy. I paced back and forth in my best friend's apartment, clutching a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. You should have seen it. Every photo, every memento, gone. Wendy sat cross-legged on her couch, her laptop balanced on her knees. Have you Googled her? Francesca, of course, but there's nothing except some charity event photos and her wedding announcement to Dad. Then we need to dig deeper. Wendy's fingers flew across the keyboard. What did you say her sister's name was? Noelle. And there was definitely something off about their interaction at dinner. Got her. Wendy turned the laptop toward me. Noelle works at a real estate firm downtown. We could always pay her a friendly visit. I grabbed my jacket. Let's go. The real estate office was all glass and chrome, with Noelle's name displayed prominently on one of the corner office doors. She looked up as we entered, her professional smile faltering when she recognized me. Beatrice, this is unexpected. I was in the neighborhood, I lied smoothly. Thought I'd stop by and properly introduce my friend Wendy. We're actually looking for investment properties. Noelle's posture relaxed slightly. Of course. Please, sit down. We spent 20 minutes discussing property values and market trends before I carefully steered the conversation toward family. It must be nice having your sister so close by now, I said casually. Have you always been in the same city? Noelle's fingers tightened around her pen. No, actually. Francesca moves around quite a bit. Oh? I leaned forward. For work? Something like that. Noelle glanced at the door. Look, Beatrice, I should probably... Did she move around with her first husband too? The pen clattered to the desk. Who told you about... So there was a first husband, Wendy chimed in, her voice neutral but her eyes sharp. Noelle stood abruptly. I think you should leave. Please, I said, standing too. Something's not right here. I can feel it. My mother's memory is being systematically erased from our home, and my father acts like he's under some kind of spell. You don't understand what you're getting into. Noelle's voice dropped to a whisper. Francesca has a way of making things disappear when they don't suit her narrative. What things? People. Problems. The past. She glanced at her phone as it buzzed. Her face went pale. She's here. You need to leave. Now. But now, Beatrice. And if you're smart, you'll stop asking questions. Noelle grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. There are things about my sister that... The office door swung open. Francesca stood there, immaculate in a cream-coloured suit, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Well, isn't this cosy? She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. Beatrice, darling, what a surprise. We were just looking at investment properties. Wendy jumped in smoothly. Your sister has been very helpful. Has she? Francesca's gaze locked onto Noelle. How thoughtful of her. Noelle seemed to shrink under her sister's stare. Just doing my job. Of course you are. Francesca turned to me. Beatrice, your father mentioned you were coming over for dinner again tonight. I'm making his favourite, pot roast. Actually, I have plans with Wendy. Cancel them. It wasn't a request. Family dinner is important, don't you think? Especially now that we're all getting to know each other better. The threat in her voice was subtle but unmistakable. I forced a smile. Of course. I'll be there. As we left the office, I heard Francesca's voice, low and dangerous. Sit down, Noelle. We need to talk about boundaries. In the elevator, Wendy grabbed my hand. Holy shit, Bea. Your stepmother is terrifying. Did you see Noelle's face when she walked in? Like she'd seen a ghost? Or the devil? Wendy pulled out her phone. I managed to snap a photo of Noelle's computer screen while she was distracted. Look at the tab she had open. I squinted at the image. It showed a news article from 5 years ago. Local business owner missing, foul play suspected. What does that have to do with... Look at the photo caption, Wendy pointed. The missing man's fiancée at the time? Francesca Simmons. My blood ran cold. We need to find out what happened to him. And what happened to her first husband, Wendy added. Because something tells me there's a lot more to your stepmother's past than a few charity events and a wedding announcement. As we stepped out into the sunlight, my phone buzzed with a text from Francesca. Looking forward to dinner, darling. We have so much to discuss. I showed it to Wendy, who shuddered. Be careful, Bea. I think we just kicked a hornet's nest. Good, I said, my jaw set. It's about time someone did. Jeremy cornered me in the driveway before I could make it into the house for Francesca's mandatory dinner. What the hell were you doing at Noelle's office? How did you... Francesca told Dad. He's furious. He ran a hand through his hair. What are you trying to prove, Bea? Don't you think it's weird that we know nothing about her? That she's systematically removing every trace of Mom from the house? People grieve differently. Dad's moving on. Maybe you should too. I pulled out my phone and showed him the article about the missing businessman. Is this moving on? Because it looks more like a pattern to me. Jeremy scanned the article, his face darkening. This doesn't prove anything. Then help me prove it. You're the one with the law degree. Don't you want to know who's really living in our house? Stop. He grabbed my arm. Just stop. You're going to tear this family apart. This family? I yanked free. This isn't our family, Jeremy. This is some twisted replacement version where we pretend Mom never existed. The front door opened, spilling warm light onto the driveway. Francesca stood silhouetted in the doorway. Children, dinner's getting cold. Inside, Dad was already seated at the table, his expression stormy. Beatrice, what's this I hear about you harassing Noelle at work? I wasn't harassing anyone. I was looking at properties. Don't lie to me. He slammed his hand on the table. Francesca says, Of course, Francesca says. I cut him off. Have you ever considered that maybe Francesca isn't telling you everything? That's enough. Dad stood up. I won't have you disrespecting my wife in our home. Your wife? I laughed bitterly. Which one? Because last time I checked, Mom's pictures used to hang in this home too. Francesca placed a hand on Dad's arm. Darling, she's just upset. Change is hard for young people. She turned to me, her voice honey-sweet. Beatrice, I know you're having trouble accepting me, but... Save it. I pulled out my phone again. Why don't you tell us about Marcus? The colour drained from Francesca's face. Who? Marcus. Your former fiancé. The one who mysteriously disappeared 5 years ago. Jeremy kicked me under the table, but I ignored him. I don't know what you're talking about, Francesca said, but her hands were shaking as she reached for her wine glass. Really? Because the police report says... There was no police report, she snapped, then caught herself. I mean, I don't know any Marcus. Dad looked between us, confusion clouding his features. Francesca. She's making things up, darling. Trying to cause trouble. Francesca's composure returned like a mask sliding into place. Perhaps Beatrice needs some time away from the family to sort through her... issues. My phone buzzed with a text from Wendy. Found marriage records. Call me now. I have to go. I stood up. But this isn't over. Sit down, Dad ordered. We're not finished here. Actually, we are. I headed for the door, then turned back. By the way, Dad, did you know Francesca was married before? Because I'm betting she didn't tell you about that either. The silence that followed me out was deafening. Back in my car, I called Wendy immediately. You're not going to believe this, she said without preamble. I found her first marriage license. She was married to a Thomas Wright, wealthy guy, real estate developer. What happened to him? That's the thing. He died. Boating accident. She inherited everything. When? 7 years ago. And get this. 2 years later, she's engaged to Marcus, who then disappears. Now she's married to your dad, who's also wealthy, I finished. And she's systematically taking control of everything. There's more, Wendy's voice dropped. I just got a weird email from someone named Terry. Says he used to work with Thomas Wright and has information about Francesca. Wants to meet. My phone buzzed with another incoming call, Jeremy. I have to go, I told Wendy. Set up the meeting with Terry. I switched calls. What? You were right, Jeremy said quietly. I just found some documents in Dad's study. Francesca's been having him sign over properties to her name. And there's something else. A life insurance policy. She took it out on him last month. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Jeremy, I think Dad's in danger. I know, he paused. Be careful, Bea. After you left, the way she looked, I've never seen anyone look so cold. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from Francesca. You really should learn to mind your own business, dear. Some questions are better left unasked. I started my car, my heart pounding. We weren't just dealing with a woman trying to erase my mother's memory anymore. We were dealing with something far more dangerous. And time was running out. Terry chose a busy coffee shop downtown for our meeting. He was already there when I arrived, fidgeting with a thick manila envelope. I recognized him from Dad's law firm holiday parties. He'd been their real estate consultant for years before mysteriously quitting 3 months ago. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. I should have come forward sooner. Terry pushed the envelope toward me. But Francesca, she has a way of making problems disappear. Like Marcus, he flinched. I worked with Thomas Wright, her first husband. The boating accident wasn't an accident. My hand froze halfway to my coffee cup. What do you mean? Thomas was terrified of water, never went near it. But suddenly he decides to go sailing alone? Terry leaned forward. The insurance payout was substantial, just like Marcus's would have been if they'd ever found his body. Did you go to the police? With what? Circumstantial evidence? He tapped the envelope. But I've been gathering proof. Bank records, property transfers, insurance policies. There's a pattern. I opened the envelope. Inside were documents, photos, and newspaper clippings. One photo showed Francesca with Thomas. She looked younger, but that same calculated smile was there. Another showed her with Marcus, standing in front of a construction site. She finds wealthy men, Terry explained, isolates them from family, takes control of their assets, and then they disappear, I finished. Your father's next, Beatrice. She's already started the process, having him sign over properties, taking out life insurance. It's the same playbook she used with Thomas and Marcus. My phone buzzed, a text from Jeremy. Dad's acting weird. Francesca's got him taking some new vitamins she bought. Says they're for stress. I showed Terry the message. His face went pale. Thomas had stress vitamins too. The autopsy showed traces of something in his system, but nothing conclusive. I need copies of everything, I said, pulling out my phone to photograph the documents. Already done. Terry handed me a USB drive. But be careful. After Marcus disappeared, I started digging. Next thing I knew, someone broke into my house. Nothing was taken, but my files were clearly searched. Why are you helping me? Because Marcus was my friend. Terry's voice cracked. And because your father's a good man. He doesn't deserve what's coming. My phone buzzed again. Francesca this time. Having dinner with your father tonight. Shame you won't be joining us. I'm trying a new recipe. I have to go. I stood up quickly. Thank you, Terry. Beatrice. He caught my arm. There's something else. Your mother's death. Have you ever wondered? The coffee shop door chimed. Noelle walked in, saw us, and froze. Behind her, 2 men in dark suits entered. Get out! Terry hissed. Now! Back door! I clutched the envelope and USB drive, slipping through the crowded shop toward the kitchen. Behind me, I heard Noelle's voice. She was just here. The back alley was empty. I ran to my car, hands shaking as I tried to unlock it. My phone buzzed again. Dear Beatrice, curiosity killed the cat. Or in this case, might kill something else. Your father's looking quite pale tonight. Perhaps he needs more vitamins. Francesca, I called Jeremy immediately. Don't let Dad take any more vitamins, I said as soon as he answered. And don't let him eat anything Francesca gives him. What? Why? Just trust me. I'm on my way home. Don't let him out of your sight. I pulled into traffic, checking my rearview mirror for the men in suits. My phone rang. Terry. They're asking questions, he said quickly. I'll try to stall them, but there was a crash, then silence. Terry? Terry! Nothing. At a red light, I quickly photographed every document from the envelope, sending them to both Wendy and Jeremy. As I finished, a black SUV pulled up beside me. The driver was one of the men from the coffee shop. The light turned green. I floored it. The SUV followed. My phone rang again. Dad's number, but Francesca's voice answered. Beatrice, darling. Your father's not feeling well. Perhaps you should come say goodbye. Come see him. If anything happens to him. You'll what? She laughed softly. Tell the police? Like Terry did about Marcus? Or like Noelle tried to about Thomas? Some stories are better left untold, dear. The SUV was still behind me, gaining ground. But don't worry, Francesca continued. I'll take good care of your father, just like I took care of your mother when she started asking too many questions. The phone slipped from my hand. My mother's death hadn't been natural causes. The SUV rammed my back bumper. And now Francesca was coming for the rest of us. I lost the SUV by pulling into a crowded mall parking garage and killing my lights. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I called Jeremy. Get Dad out of there, I said before he could speak. Now. Already did. We're at my apartment. He's not good. He can barely stand. Call an ambulance. Francesca's been calling non-stop, says she's bringing a private doctor. Don't let her in, I'm on my way. I hesitated. Jeremy, Mom's death wasn't natural. The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally. I know. I found Mom's journal hidden in the study while looking for those documents. She suspected something was wrong. She was going to confront Francesca the day she died. My throat tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to believe it, but after seeing those bank records, the insurance policies, God be, what have we let into our lives? A text from Wendy lit up my phone. Police won't help without concrete evidence, but I found something in those files you sent. Coming over. I made it to Jeremy's apartment in record time. Dad was sprawled on the couch, his skin grey and clammy. Empty vitamin bottles littered the coffee table. "The ambulance is 5 minutes out," Jeremy said, pacing. "But Francesca's downstairs. Security won't hold her for long." "Dad?" I knelt beside him. "Can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open. "Beatrice, I'm sorry. I should have listened. Save your strength." I grabbed the vitamin bottles. "The paramedics need to know what was in these." The door buzzed. Wendy's voice came through the intercom. "Let me in quick, Francesca's arguing with security." Jeremy buzzed her up. She burst in, clutching her laptop. "Those documents you sent? I cross-referenced them with Mom's old medical records." She opened her computer. "The symptoms match. Whatever's in those vitamins, it's the same thing that killed her." Dad started coughing violently. Jeremy supported his head while I called down to the front desk. "Don't let anyone up, especially not..." "Too late." Wendy was at the window. "She's getting in the elevator." The hallway security camera feed on Jeremy's phone showed Francesca and 2 men, the same ones from the coffee shop, ascending. "Fire escape," Jeremy decided, already moving to help Dad up. "Wait." I grabbed Mum's journal from my bag. "Listen to this. Found F's secret box in garage. Everything's there. Proof about Thomas, about Marcus. Have to tell you before..." I looked up. "The entry ends there, the day she died." "The garage?" Jeremy's eyes widened. "Dad's old toolbox is still there. Mum used to hide things in it." Footsteps approached outside, a key scraped in the lock, the emergency master key. "Get Dad to the hospital," I told Jeremy. "I'm going to the house." "You can't," Wendy grabbed my arm. "Those men are focused on finding us here." I headed for the fire escape. "Text me when Dad's safe." The door began to open. I slipped out the window just as Francesca's voice filled the apartment. "Darling, are those sirens I hear?" I made it to my car, unseen. The house was dark when I arrived, but Francesca's car was gone. She was still at Jeremy's. The garage door code hadn't changed since I was 12. Dad's toolbox was buried under holiday decorations. Inside, beneath rusted wrenches and old screwdrivers, was a false bottom. My hands trembled as I pried it open. A small USB drive, a stack of photos, and a letter in my mother's handwriting. "If you're reading this, I'm probably dead." My phone buzzed. "Dad's in ER. Blood tests showing unknown toxins. Police involved now." "Where are you?" "Jeremy." Another text followed. "Get out of there. Francesca's on her way back." "Wendy, I heard a car in the driveway. The connecting door from the garage to the kitchen opened. Noelle stood there, pale and shaking. "Through here," she whispered. "Quick. Why are you helping me?" "Because she killed my husband too." Noelle's eyes were hard. "Thomas was my husband first. She was my best friend, and she took everything." Car doors slammed outside. "Go!" Noelle pushed me toward the back door. "That USB drive, it has banking records, offshore accounts, everything the police need." "Come with me," she shook her head. "Someone has to keep her here. Make her think she's won." The front door opened. Francesca's voice carried through the house. "Noelle, why are all the lights off?" I slipped out just as Noelle called back. "In here, sister dear, just making some tea." My phone lit up one last time as I started my car. Found Mum's autopsy photos on the USB, meeting with detectives tomorrow. End this. "Jeremy," I clutched the evidence to my chest. "I will, Mum, I promise." Behind me, through the kitchen window, I saw Francesca embrace her sister. But even from here, I could see Noelle's hands ball into fists at her sides. The game wasn't over, but now we had proof. And tomorrow everything would change. The hospital waiting room buzzed with fluorescent lights and hushed conversations. Jeremy paced while Wendy and I sorted through Mum's evidence on her laptop. "Dad's stable," Jeremy said, hanging up his phone. "They're running more tests, but the doctor says the poisoning was caught in time." "Look at this," Wendy pointed to her screen. "These offshore transfers. They all happened right before each death. Thomas, Marcus, your mum, and now there are new accounts set up in your dad's name." The detective's on his way. Jeremy checked his watch. But we need more than just financial records. My phone buzzed. Noelle. She's planning something. Big family dinner tomorrow night. Says she's making things right. Don't trust her. Another text followed. Found something in her office safe. Coming to hospital. Don't tell anyone. Noelle's bringing more evidence, I told Jeremy. How long until the detective gets here? 20 minutes. He sat down heavily. I can't believe we didn't see it. All those times Mum tried to warn us about Francesca, the elevator dinged. We all looked up, expecting Noelle. Instead, Terry stumbled out, his face bruised and bloody. Jesus! Jeremy caught him as he nearly collapsed. What happened? Francesca's men, Terry coughed. They wanted to know what I told you, but that's not important. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I got this from my security camera last night, after they finished with me. The video showed Francesca in Terry's office, rifling through his files. She was on the phone. It's handled. No, he won't talk. The family dinner tomorrow will take care of everything. Yes, all of them. Just like before. She's planning something at the dinner, I said. Something big. Mass poisoning, Wendy suggested. No, Terry shook his head. Too obvious now. She needs it to look accidental. Like Thomas's boating accident or Marcus's disappearance. The elevator dinged again. This time it was Noelle clutching a small red notebook. Her diary, she said, thrusting it at me. Every detail, every plan written in her own hand. She's always kept one. It's her trophy collection. She looked around frantically. Where's the detective? Not here yet. Jeremy checked his phone. But then we need to leave. Now. Noelle's voice shook. She knows I took it. She'll be coming. As if on cue, my phone rang. Francesca. Speaker, Jeremy mouthed. I answered. Hello? Darling. Francesca's voice was silk over steel. I seem to be missing something important, but don't worry, I know exactly where to find it. Stay away from us. Us? She laughed softly. Oh, is my dear sister there too? Noelle always did have a problem with loyalty, just like your mother. We have proof, I said. Everything. The murders, the money. Proof? Another laugh. Like Terry's proof or your mother's? Evidence has a funny way of combusting. Speaking of which, you might want to check on your father's room. Hospitals can be so dangerous. All those oxygen tanks. Electrical equipment. Jeremy was already running toward Dad's room. You won't get away with this, I said. I already have, 3 times before, but I'm feeling generous. Come to dinner tomorrow night. Bring everyone. Jeremy, Wendy, my traitorous sister. Bring your little diary and your USB drives. Let's end this properly. Like you ended things with Thomas, with Marcus. Better. Her voice hardened. Or I could just trigger the fire alarm now. Hospitals are such chaos during evacuations. Anything could happen to a helpless patient. Jeremy came running back. She's got men outside Dad's room. Tick-tock, Beatrice, Francesca said. Dinner's at 7, don't be late. The line went dead. We can't wait for the detective, Noelle said. She's got people everywhere, police, hospital staff. Then we end this now, I stood up. At dinner, her way. That's suicide, Terry protested. No, Jeremy's eyes lit up. It's perfect. She's overconfident, thinks she has us cornered. But if we can get her to confess, with everyone there, I can set up remote recordings, Wendy added. Multiple devices streaming to secure servers. And I know all her tricks, Noelle said. Every poison, every accident she staged. My phone buzzed one last time. Don't forget to dress for dinner, darling. It's a special occasion. Your mother wore such a lovely blue dress the night she died. Perhaps you have something similar. Francesca. Tomorrow night, I said, clutching Mom's diary. We finish this. Be careful, Terry warned. She's never lost before. She's never faced a family she tried to destroy before, Jeremy said. Outside Dad's room, I saw one of Francesca's men watching us. He spoke into a phone, smiling. The game was reaching its end. But this time, we knew all the players. And tomorrow night, only one side would walk away from that dinner table. I wore my mother's blue dress to dinner. Francesca's smile faltered when she opened the door, just for a second, but I caught it. You look just like her, she said, voice dripping honey. Come in. Everyone's waiting. The dining room was set for a feast. Dad sat at the head of the table, still pale but upright, with Jeremy beside him. Wendy and Terry took their seats while Noelle hovered near the kitchen, avoiding her sister's gaze. Wine? Francesca lifted a crystal decanter. I'll pour, Noelle said quickly, taking it from her hands. The sisters locked eyes, a silent battle of wills. Such a lovely family gathering. Francesca sat at the other end of the table, shame about the circumstances. You mean the poisoning? I placed Mom's diary on the table. Or the murders? Beatrice, Dad started, but Jeremy squeezed his arm. Let her talk, Dad. Let's hear what she has to say. Francesca's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. Murders? My goodness, what an imagination. Though I suppose grief can do strange things to a person's mind. Like Thomas's grief before his boating accident. Noelle's hands shook as she poured wine. Or Marcus's before he disappeared. Careful, sister. Francesca's smile turned sharp. You're still my family. Like Mom was family? I pulled out my phone, playing the security footage from Terry's office. Francesca's voice filled the room. It's handled. The family dinner tomorrow will take care of everything. A recording can be manipulated, she said smoothly. Just like bank records, insurance policies, even diaries can be forged. But memories can't, Dad spoke up, his voice stronger than I'd heard in days. I remember Laura, my wife, telling me something was wrong the day before she died. Darling, you were distraught. I remember the vitamins you gave her. He pushed back from the table. The same ones you gave me. Francesca's composure cracked just slightly. Everything I did was for us. This family needed cleaning up. Like you cleaned up Thomas. Noelle slammed the decanter down. My husband, my best friend. You took everything. He was weak. Like Marcus. Like Laura. Francesca stood, mask finally slipping. They all asked too many questions, poked too many holes. This family needed a strong hand. We've got it all on tape, Wendy held up her phone. Live streaming to 3 different servers. And the police have copies of everything, Terry added. The diary, the bank records. The police? Francesca laughed again, but it was brittle now. You think I don't own half the force? Why do you think they ignored Marcus's disappearance? Thomas's suspicious accident? Not these police. Jeremy nodded toward the dining room windows where red and blue lights suddenly flashed. Federal agents don't take kindly to multiple murders across state lines. Francesca's face went white. She reached for her purse. Looking for this. Noelle held up a small revolver. I found it in your safe, along with letters from Thomas begging for his life. You were my sister, Francesca snarled. You were supposed to understand. I understand that you're a monster. Noelle's voice broke. That you killed my husband, tried to kill my new family. The front door burst open. Federal agents poured in, weapons drawn. It's over, Francesca. I stood up. Mum can rest now. She looked around wildly, then lunged for Dad. I'll take you all. Jeremy tackled her before she could reach him. She hit the table hard, sending glasses shattering. Francesca Simmons? An agent stepped forward, handcuffs ready. You're under arrest for the murders of Thomas Wright, Marcus Peters, and Laura Ryan, and the attempted murder of Ulysses Ryan. As they led her away, she turned back one last time. I made this family perfect. No, Dad said, standing with Jeremy's help. You destroyed a family. My wife, my Laura. She made it perfect. Francesca screamed as they took her out. In the chaos, I felt Dad's hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have seen it, should have listened. We all should have, Jeremy said. Noelle handed the gun to an agent, her hands still shaking. It's really over. Almost. Wendy was checking her phone. They found Marcus's body, where she said it would be in the diary, and they're reopening Thomas's case. Outside, Francesca's screams faded as the police cars pulled away. Dad walked to the wall where Mom's pictures used to hang. We'll put them back up, he said quietly. All of them. Laura should never have been taken down. I touched my mother's blue dress, feeling closer to her than I had in years. She's still here, Dad. She helped us see the truth. The federal agents finished gathering evidence, leaving us in the wreckage of Francesca's final dinner party. But as I looked around at my real family, Dad, Jeremy, Wendy, even Noelle and Terry, I knew we'd rebuild. Mom's diary lay open on the table, her final warning finally heard, her final case finally solved, and her family, finally, truly safe. The morning sun streamed through the windows as I helped Dad hang Mom's last photograph, her favourite, showing all of us at the beach. Her smile radiated from the frame, bringing warmth back to the house that had felt cold for so long. "Perfect," Dad said, stepping back. He looked healthier now, the colour returned to his face. She always knew exactly where everything should go. The doorbell rang. Jeremy walked in with a stack of newspapers. "You made the front page again," he told me, spreading them on the coffee table. The headlines screamed, "Black Widow Killer Convicted," and "Justice for 3 Families." "The DA called," he continued. "Francesca's facing 3 life sentences, no possibility of parole." 4, actually. Noelle entered through the open door, carrying a box of old photos. They found evidence linking her to another death in Florida, before Thomas. Dad sank into his armchair, Mum's old reading chair that we'd brought back from storage. "I still can't believe I let her fool me so completely." "She fooled everyone," I said, but he shook his head. "Not your mother, and not you." He picked up one of the newspapers. "You fought for the truth just like Laura would have." Wendy arrived with Terry carrying boxes of their own. We'd been slowly restoring the house, bringing back pieces of our history that Francesca had tried to erase. "Found these in the evidence lockup." Terry set down his box. "The police said we could have them back now that the trial's over." Inside were Mom's journals. Not just the one that helped convict Francesca, but all of them. Years of memories, observations, and love for her family, written in her familiar handwriting. "Look at this." Wendy pulled out a photo album. "Your mum kept records of everything. She knew something was wrong with Francesca from the start. She was protecting us," Jeremy said, flipping through one of the journals. Even after Francesca. Even after I killed her." A cold voice came from the doorway. We all spun around. Francesca stood there in handcuffs, flanked by federal agents. Her designer clothes were replaced by an orange jumpsuit, her perfect makeup gone. "Sorry to interrupt," one agent said. "She insisted on retrieving personal items before being transferred to federal prison. We'll be quick. Nothing here belongs to you." Dad stood up, stronger than I'd seen him in months. "No?" Francesca's eyes darted around the room, taking in Mom's restored photos, the recovered mementos. "I made this house mine. This family mine." "You never had us," I said. "Mom made sure of that." "Your precious mother," she spat. "So perfect, so observant. Did she observe the poison in her coffee? Did she know what was happening when her heart—" "That's enough," the agent pulled her toward the stairs. "Get what you came for." "I already have what I came for," Francesca smiled, but it was empty now. One last look at my greatest failure, the family I couldn't break. As they led her away, she called back, "Enjoy your memories. They're all you have left." "No," Noelle spoke up, surprising us all. "They have justice, they have truth, and they have each other. That's more than you ever had, sister." The door closed behind them. We stood in silence until the police cars drove away. "She's wrong, you know." Wendy picked up one of Mom's journals. "Memories aren't all you have left. You have Laura's strength, her love, her warning that saved your lives." Dad walked to Mom's photograph, touching it gently. "She's still protecting us, still keeping us together." "And now everyone knows the truth," Terry added. "About Thomas, about Marcus. Their families can heal too." I opened Mom's journal to her last entry, the one that started this whole journey. "My dearest family, if you're reading this, stay strong, stay together. The truth will always find its way home." "Home," Jeremy echoed, looking around at the restored house, at Mom's photos watching over us. "It finally feels like home again." Dad gathered us all in front of Mom's favourite photograph. Wendy set up her camera timer. Laura always insisted on family photos, he said. Said they captured more than just moments. They captured love. The camera flashed, catching us all. Dad, Jeremy, me, Wendy, Terry, even Noelle, surrounded by Mum's restored presence. Not just in photographs and journals, but in the strength she gave us, the truth she helped us uncover, and the family she protected until the very end. Outside, spring flowers bloomed in Mum's garden, which we'd started restoring. Her favourite roses were budding again, reaching for the sun. Life was returning to our home. Truth had won over lies. Love had won over hate. And Mom's legacy lived on, in every corner, in every heart, in every moment of justice finally served. We were her final victory.
The first sign something was wrong came from my cat. Shadow never hisses at nothing, and that morning she sat frozen in my hallway, fur raised, eyes fixed on what looked like an innocent smoke detector. I'm Lexus, and I used to think I was just being paranoid. Growing up with a sister like Ivy does that to you. Makes you second-guess everything. Wonder if you're the crazy one. But Shadow knew better than I did. "Come look at this," I said into my phone, pacing beneath the suspicious device. My best friend Zane's voice crackled through the speaker. "The lights blinking weird?" "Yeah, and Shadow's acting strange. Could you just, I don't know, swing by after work? I know it sounds stupid." "It's not stupid," Zane cut me off. "I'll be there in an hour." I tried to focus on work, but my eyes kept drifting to that blinking light. Years of Ivy's mind games had taught me to trust my instincts, like the time my diary mysteriously ended up in my high school's gossip blog, or when my college application essays accidentally got deleted from the family computer. The doorbell rang at 6:15. Zane didn't waste time with pleasantries, pulling out a small device that looked like a TV remote. "RF detector," he explained, sweeping it around the room. The device stayed quiet until we reached the smoke detector. Then it screamed. "Holy shit," I whispered as Zane carefully removed the cover. Inside, nested among the actual smoke detector components, was a tiny camera. "There might be more," he said grimly. "Let me check the whole place." We found 3 more. One in my bedroom disguised as a wall outlet, another in my home office inside a phone charger, and one in my living room hidden in a decorative wall clock. The clock had been a housewarming gift from Ivy. My hands shook as I sank onto my couch. I knew she was obsessed with controlling my life, but this— "We should call the police," Zane said, laying out the cameras on my coffee table. I laughed bitterly. "And tell them what? That my perfect, successful sister, the one who runs charity galas and has Mom and Dad wrapped around her finger, is secretly spying on me? They'll think I'm crazy." "Lexus." Zane sat beside me. "This is illegal. It's stalking. You don't know Ivy like I do. She'll twist it somehow, make me look paranoid. She always does." My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. A text from Ivy? "Coming to Mom and Dad's for dinner tomorrow night? Mom's making your favorite." I showed Zane the text. "See, she's watching right now, probably laughing about how long it took me to figure it out." "Then let's give her something to watch," Zane said, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You know those cameras are two-way, right? They store footage somewhere. If we trace the signal—" I sat up straighter. "We could find out what else she's recording, who else she's watching." "Exactly." Zane pulled out his laptop, "and then we can beat her at her own game." I thought about all the years of subtle manipulation, the way Ivy would undermine my confidence while maintaining her angelic public image, the accidental revelations of my secrets, the sabotaged relationships, the constant feeling of being watched and judged. "Do it," I said. "Show me how to fight back." As Zane typed away, my phone buzzed again. This time it was my cousin Jayla. Hey, need to talk to you about Ivy. It's important. I showed Zane the message. Looks like we're not the only ones onto her games. Perfect timing, he said. We'll need allies. I glanced at the dismantled cameras on my table, thinking about how long Ivy had been watching me, gathering ammunition for her next move. But this time would be different. This time, I wasn't her helpless little sister anymore. Tomorrow at dinner, I said, I'll act normal. Let her think she still has the upper hand. While we work on turning her surveillance against her, Zane finished. You know this might get ugly, right? I thought about Shadow, still glaring at the spot where the first camera had been. Sometimes animals see things more clearly than humans do. They know when something's wrong, when it's time to stop running and start fighting back. It's been ugly for years, I said. The difference is, now I'm done playing by her rules. Zane packed up the cameras in an evidence bag, promising to analyze them properly at his place. As he left, he turned back with a serious expression. Lexus, whatever we find, whatever we do next, are you sure you're ready? I thought about tomorrow's dinner, about facing Ivy across our mother's table, about finally having proof I wasn't crazy all these years. I'm ready, I said. It's time Ivy learned what it feels like to be watched. Your sister's been busy, Zane said, spinning his laptop around to show me. These cameras have been streaming to a private server for months. She's got everything categorized by date. I leaned closer, my stomach churning as I scrolled through folder after folder of my private moments. She's been watching me sleep, having breakfast, working out. The good news is, Zane continued, typing rapidly, her security isn't great. She probably thought no one would ever find the cameras, let alone trace them back. My cousin Jayla sat on my other side, her face grim. We'd met for coffee earlier, and she'd dropped a bombshell. Ivy had pulled similar stunts with other family members. Remember when Uncle Mike's business almost went under? Jayla said, picking at her coffee sleeve. Those anonymous tips to the IRS? That was Ivy. I found emails about it on her laptop when she asked me to help with her website. Jesus, I muttered. Why didn't you say anything? Would anyone have believed me? Besides, she caught me looking, threatened to tell everyone about. Jayla paused, swallowing hard. Let's just say she's good at collecting secrets. Zane's fingers flew across the keyboard. Well, she's about to learn about karma. Look at this. She's got her own cameras set up in her house, too. Probably to make sure her boyfriend Liam doesn't step out of line. Can you access those feeds? I asked. Already done. But we need to be smart about this. If we're going to expose her, we need ironclad evidence that can't be explained away. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ivy. Missed you at dinner last night. Everything okay, little sis? You seem distant lately. God, I hate how she does that, I said, acting all concerned while she's literally spying on me. Perfect, Zane said. Keep engaging with her. Make her think you're clueless. Meanwhile, he pulled up another window, showing a live feed from Ivy's living room. She was pacing, phone in hand, perfectly put together as always. We start gathering our own evidence, he finished. Jayla leaned forward. I can help. She's planning this huge birthday party next month. Rented out the entire rooftop at the Grand. She's going to announce her engagement to Liam. I raised my eyebrows. Liam proposed? Not yet. Jayla smiled wickedly. But according to her calendar, he will. She's got it all planned out, down to the exact minute. Of course she does, I said. Everything has to be perfect in Ivy's world, which makes it the perfect time to show everyone who she really is, Zane added. But we need to be careful. One wrong move and she'll spin it around on you. I watched the feed of Ivy in her living room, remembering all the times she'd made me doubt myself, question my own sanity. Then we'll be smarter than her. Jayla, can you get me into that party planning committee she's so proud of? Already on it. She's been begging me to help coordinate. Good, I turned to Zane. How long would it take to put together a video? Something that shows exactly what she's been doing? With all this footage? He gestured at his screen. A week, maybe less, but we need something recent, something she can't dismiss as old or out of context. I pulled out my phone and typed a reply to Ivy. Sorry, been super busy, but I'd love to help with party planning. Jayla mentioned you might need an extra hand? The response was immediate. OMG, yes. Come over tomorrow. We can catch up properly. I showed the others. There's our chance. Zane, can you set me up with something to record? He reached into his bag and pulled out what looked like a normal pendant necklace. Camera and mic, totally undetectable. Just don't get it wet. Perfect. I slipped it on, then turned to Jayla. You're sure about this? She'll come after you too when it all comes out. Jayla's face hardened. Let her try. I'm done being scared of her. Okay then. I looked at the feed one last time, watching my sister arrange flowers in her perfect house, planning her perfect party, completely unaware that her perfect world was about to crumble. Tomorrow, we start gathering ammunition. By the time her birthday party rolls around, she won't know what hit her. Zane finished. I touched the pendant, thinking about all the cameras Ivy had hidden in my home, all the private moments she'd stolen from me. No more hiding, I said. No more playing the victim. Tomorrow we start fighting back. To karma, Jayla raised her coffee cup. To karma, Zane and I echoed. On the screen, Ivy was still arranging her flowers, smiling that perfect smile, probably already planning how to manipulate her next victim. But her time was running out. She just didn't know it yet. Mom, these potatoes are amazing, Ivy gushed, reaching across the dinner table to squeeze our mother's hand. You'll have to give me the recipe for when Liam and I have our own family dinners. I forced myself to keep eating, the pendant feeling heavy against my chest. Through the whole meal, I'd watched Ivy perform her usual routine. The perfect daughter, the successful sister, the bride-to-be who didn't even have a ring yet. Speaking of Liam, Mom said, when are you bringing him around again? We barely see him anymore. A flash of something crossed Ivy's face, so quick I would have missed it if I hadn't been watching for it. Oh, he's just so busy with work, but he'll definitely be at my birthday party. Won't you all be there? Wouldn't miss it, Princess, Dad said, and I caught the slight frown that appeared when Ivy wasn't looking his way. Maybe he was finally starting to see through her act. Lexus has been helping with the planning, Ivy announced. Haven't you, sis? She's been such a wonderful help. The way she emphasized wonderful made my skin crawl. I knew what she was doing, setting up her next move, whatever it was. Just doing what sisters do, I replied, matching her sweet tone. Under the table, my phone buzzed. A text from Zane. Got something. Big. Call me ASAP. Actually, I said, standing up, I should get going. Early meeting tomorrow. But you haven't had dessert, Mom protested. I made your favorite chocolate cake. Let her go, Mom, Ivy said smoothly. Some of us have to work harder than others to get ahead. There it was, the subtle dig, the kind she'd perfected over years. I caught Dad's frown deepening. In the driveway, Jayla caught up with me. Wait, she whispered, pressing a USB drive into my hand. Found this in her home office yesterday. You need to see it. What is it? Evidence. She's been... Jayla stopped as the front door opened. Leaving so soon? Ivy called out, her heels clicking on the pavement. We barely got to talk about the party arrangements. I'll call you tomorrow, I said, gripping the USB drive tightly. Ivy's eyes flickered to my closed fist, then back to my face. Perfect. Oh, and Jayla, thanks for all your help with the planning. You're such a dear cousin. The threat in her voice was clear. As soon as she turned back to the house, Jayla whispered, Be careful with that. She'll know it's missing soon. I drove straight to Zane's place, my heart pounding. He opened the door before I could knock. "You're not gonna believe this," he said, pulling me inside. His living room was a mess of computers and cables. "Remember those emails Jayla mentioned? About Uncle Mike?" "Yeah." That was just the beginning. Look, he pulled up a series of documents on his main screen. "Your sister's been running a whole operation. She finds people's secrets, their weaknesses, and she exploits them. Not just family, colleagues, friends, anyone she thinks might get in her way." I pulled out the USB drive. "Jayla just gave me this, said it was important." Zane plugged it in, and more files populated his screen. "Holy shit," he breathed. "These are her plans, detailed strategies for manipulating people. Look, there's one about you." My stomach lurched as I read the document titled Lexus Containment Strategy. It laid out every insecurity, every weakness she'd identified, every way she planned to keep me under her control. "There's more," Zane said quietly. "She's got something big planned for her birthday party, some kind of announcement that's supposed to destroy you professionally." "How?" "Not sure yet, but—" He stopped as my phone rang. Ivy's name flashed on the screen. "Put it on speaker," Zane mouthed. "Hey, sis," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just wanted to check on you," Ivy said sweetly. "You seemed a bit off at dinner. Is everything okay at work? I heard some rumors." "Everything's fine," I said. "Just busy." "Well, if you need anything. After all, what are big sisters for?" She paused. "Oh, and Lexus? Have you seen my silver USB drive? I seem to have misplaced it." My blood ran cold. "No, sorry, haven't seen it." Well, if you do, let me know right away. It has some sensitive work documents on it." Another pause. "Wouldn't want those falling into the wrong hands." After she hung up, I looked at Zane. "She knows." "Good," he said, already copying the USB's contents. "Let her know. Let her worry, because this time she's not the only one with a plan." I touched the pendant, still recording, and thought about the detailed strategy she'd written about me. "Two can play at containment," I said, "and her birthday party just became ground zero." "Play it again," I said, staring at Zane's computer screen. We'd been reviewing the files from Ivy's USB drive for hours, and each revelation hit harder than the last. Zane clicked play, and Ivy's voice filled the room. "Liam, honey, you know I hate doing this, but those messages to your ex, what would the board think if they saw them? You know how important your reputation is for the merger." "That's straight up blackmail," Jayla said, pacing behind us. "Poor Liam doesn't even realize he's being manipulated into proposing." "It gets worse," Zane said, pulling up another file. "Look at these emails to your boss, Lexus. She's been laying groundwork for months, subtle hints about your mental health issues and family concerns that might affect your work performance." My hands clenched into fists. "That's why I got passed over for the promotion last month. She's been poisoning the well." A knock at the door made us all jump. Zane checked his security camera feed. "It's Liam." "What? Did you tell him to come?" "No, but—" Zane hesitated. "I may have sent him some anonymous screenshots yesterday. Thought he deserved to know what he's getting into." I opened the door to find Liam looking worse than I'd ever seen him. His usually perfect suit was wrinkled, his hair disheveled. "Is it true?" he asked, pushing past me into the apartment. "All of it? The manipulation, the blackmail, the—" He stopped when he saw the screens. "Oh God, it is." "Sit down," Jayla said gently. "There's more you need to see." We showed him everything: the surveillance footage, the emails, the carefully documented plans for their future together. With each revelation, Liam seemed to shrink further into himself. "The proposal next week," he said quietly. "At her birthday party. She's been pushing so hard for it, dropping hints about the perfect ring, The perfect moment. She's got it all scripted, I confirmed, right down to which knee you should bend. I'm such an idiot, he muttered. No, Jayla said firmly. You're a victim, like the rest of us. But now you can help us stop her. Liam looked up. How? Zane outlined our plan for the birthday party. As he spoke, my phone buzzed with a text from Ivy. Found my USB. No worries. See you tomorrow for party planning. She's trying to flush us out, I said. See if we took the bait. Then let's give her a show, Liam said, his voice stronger. I'll keep playing along. Let her think everything's going according to her perfect plan. Are you sure? I asked. She'll make your life hell when this all comes out. She already has. He pulled out his phone and showed us his banking app. She's been siphoning money from my accounts. Small amounts, but it adds up. I thought I was going crazy, not remembering these transactions. Classic gaslighting, Zane muttered, adding the banking records to our evidence file. Another knock at the door. This time it was Dad, looking troubled. I followed you, he admitted as I let him in. After dinner, something felt off. I needed to know. He trailed off as he saw the screens, the evidence of his daughter's manipulation laid bare. Daddy, I started, but he held up a hand. Show me everything, he said. I need to know what my little girl has become. For the next hour, we walked him through it all. The surveillance, the blackmail, the carefully constructed web of lies. He didn't speak, just watched and listened, his face growing harder with each revelation. Finally, he stood up. Your mother can't know, not yet. It would destroy her. She'll have to know eventually, I said. Yes, but not like this, not in pieces. He turned to Liam. The proposal, you'll go through with it? Liam nodded. One last performance. Good, let her have her perfect moment in the spotlight. Dad's voice was cold in a way I'd never heard before. It'll make the fall that much harder. As he left, Jayla pulled up the party plans on her tablet. We've got 1 week. Everything has to be perfect. It will be, I said, watching Liam scroll through more evidence of Ivy's betrayal. For once, Ivy's obsession with perfection is going to work against her. Zane started compiling the video we'd play at the party. You know she won't go down without a fight. Good, I said, touching the pendant that was still recording everything. Because neither will we. On the screen, security footage showed Ivy entering her perfect house, probably planning her perfect proposal, completely unaware that her carefully constructed house of cards was about to come crashing down. 1 week, 7 days until her perfect world shattered. I couldn't wait. The lighting needs to be softer here, Ivy directed, gesturing at the rooftops pergola. And those flowers, they're the wrong shade of pink. I specifically ordered coral blush, not salmon. I stood beside her, notebook in hand, playing the role of devoted sister while my pendant recorded everything. The party was 2 days away, and Ivy was in full control freak mode. I'll call the florist, I said, making a show of writing it down. Good. Ivy checked her phone. Oh, and make sure they deliver exactly at 3 p.m. Not earlier, not later. The timing has to be perfect. Everything will be perfect, I assured her, catching Jayla's eye across the room. She was arranging place cards, carefully following Ivy's precise instructions. It better be. Ivy lowered her voice. By the way, did you get that issue at work sorted out? The one about the missing client files? My head snapped up. I hadn't told anyone about the files that had mysteriously disappeared from my computer yesterday. Don't worry, she continued, smiling sweetly. I'm sure it'll all work out, though it does look a bit suspicious, doesn't it? Especially after that incident with the quarterly reports last month. Before I could respond, Liam arrived, right on schedule. Ivy's whole demeanor changed, softening into the perfect girlfriend. Baby, she cooed, rushing to kiss him. I've missed you so much. I watched Liam play his part, embracing her while his eyes remained cold. He'd spent the last few days discovering just how deep her manipulation went, including evidence that she'd sabotaged his previous relationship. "The ring's ready," he whispered to me when Ivy stepped away to berate a caterer. "Custom made to her exact specifications, just like she casually suggested." "You didn't have to actually buy it," I said. "Oh, but I did." His smile was grim. "She's been checking the credit card statements. Had to make everything look perfect, remember?" My phone buzzed. A text from Zane. "Video's done. You need to see this now." "Ivy?" I called out. "I need to check on the lighting company. Back in 30? "Fine, but hurry back. We need to discuss the timing of the speeches." I found Zane in his car around the corner, laptop open. "Watch this," he said, pressing play. The video started with Ivy's own surveillance footage, her speaking directly to her hidden cameras, rehearsing different versions of fake tears and emotional breakdowns. Then it cut to recordings of her threatening people, followed by the evidence of her financial manipulation, the sabotage, the carefully orchestrated schemes. "It's perfect," I breathed. "But how are we going to play it? She'll be watching everything." "Already handled." Zane pulled out a small device. "This will override any video input when activated. The AV team is on our side. Turns out Ivy threatened the manager's daughter last year." "Of course she did." I checked the time. "I should get back before she gets suspicious." "Wait." Zane grabbed my arm. "There's something else. Those missing files at your work? I traced the hack. She's planning to frame you for corporate espionage." My blood ran cold. "When?" "The day after the party. She's got everything set up. Fake emails, doctored security footage, even a paper trail leading to an offshore account in your name. She's making sure she has a backup plan." I realized. If something goes wrong at the party, she'll destroy you completely. Zane's face was serious. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" I thought about all the years of manipulation, the lives she'd ruined, the way she'd made me doubt my own sanity. "More than ever," I said. "But we need to move fast. Send everything about the corporate espionage setup to Dad. He knows people in cybersecurity who can help protect me." Back at the rooftop, Ivy was directing the placement of crystal champagne glasses with military precision. "Everything okay with the lighting company?" she asked, not looking up from her checklist. "All sorted," I lied. "Just like everything else will be." She finally looked at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or suspicion. "You know I love you, right?" she said softly. "Everything I do, it's because I want what's best for you, for all of us." I wondered how many times she'd rehearsed that line in front of her hidden cameras. "I know," I replied, matching her tone. "That's what sisters are for, right?" She hugged me, and I felt the USB drive in her pocket press against my hip, the one she'd found after we'd copied its contents. "2 more days," she whispered, and I couldn't tell if it was a promise or a threat. "2 more days," I agreed, touching my pendant. "Everything will be perfect." And for once, I wasn't lying. It would be perfect, just not in the way Ivy imagined. "You look stunning, darling," Mom gushed as Ivy twirled in her champagne-colored gown. The rooftop party was in full swing, fairy lights twinkling against the darkening sky. "Everything's perfect," Ivy beamed, checking her reflection in a nearby window. "Absolutely perfect." I caught Dad's eye across the room. He gave a subtle nod, confirmation that the cybersecurity team had blocked Ivy's attempt to frame me at work. One threat neutralized. 10 minutes until the speeches," Jayla announced, clipboard in hand. "Should I start gathering everyone?" "Yes, perfect timing." Ivy smoothed her dress. "Liam, baby, where are you?" Liam appeared, champagne in hand, the ring box hidden in his jacket pocket. "Right here, sweetheart." Ladies and gentlemen, the event coordinator's voice rang out. If you could all gather around the main area. I slipped away from the crowd, making my way to the AV booth where Zane waited. Ready? Everything's set, he confirmed, showing me the video queued up on his laptop. As soon as Liam takes a knee. Lexus, Ivy's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. Where are you going? I need my maid of honor for the speeches. I turned, plastering on a smile. Just checking on the sound system. Coming. The crowd arranged themselves in a semicircle, just as Ivy had planned. Mom was already dabbing at her eyes, while Dad stood stoically beside her, his hand in his pocket where I knew he held a copy of all the evidence we'd gathered. Friends, family, Ivy began, her voice perfectly modulated for maximum emotional impact. I can't tell you how much it means to have you all here tonight. I watched her perform, noting how each gesture, each tremor in her voice, matched exactly what I'd seen her rehearse on her own surveillance footage. And especially my dear sister Lexus, she continued, reaching for my hand, who's been such a help planning this perfect evening. That's when I saw it, the glint in her eye, the slight squeeze of my hand that was just a bit too tight. She knew, somehow, she knew. Actually, she said, her voice taking on an edge only I would recognize, I'd like to share something special, a video I've prepared. My heart stopped. She was going to beat us to the punch. But before she could continue, Liam stepped forward. If I could just interrupt for a moment. Ivy's face flickered with annoyance before smoothing into practiced delight. This wasn't part of her schedule. The proposal was supposed to come after her speech. Ivy, Liam began, reaching for the ring box. These past 2 years. I caught Zane's eye and gave a slight nod. Now or never. The screens around the rooftop flickered. Instead of the romantic montage Ivy had prepared, her own face appeared. Multiple versions of her practicing fake tears, rehearsing manipulative speeches. What? Ivy started, but her voice was drowned out by her own recorded words. Poor little Lexus, always so desperate for attention. Once I plant those files, her career will be over. The crowd gasped as scene after scene played out. Ivy threatening Liam, manipulating colleagues, plotting against family members. Turn it off, Ivy screamed, but her voice only added to the chaos as more revelations poured from the speakers. Is this true? Mom whispered, watching footage of Ivy gloating about ruining Uncle Mike's business. Every word, Dad said grimly, pulling out his phone. And there's more. The police are very interested in the corporate espionage attempt. Liam stepped back from Ivy, the ring box still in his hand. I think I'll be keeping this, he said quietly. You don't understand, Ivy said, her voice rising hysterically. This is all fake. Lexus is trying to ruin me because she's jealous. She's always been jealous. Really? I pulled out my pendant. Then I guess you won't mind explaining the cameras you planted in my house? The ones that streamed directly to your private server? The color drained from Ivy's face as she recognized the pendant, identical to the ones she used for surveillance. I can explain, she started, but people were already backing away from her, murmuring, checking their phones as years of evidence began circulating through their social networks. Perfect timing, I said softly, echoing her favorite phrase. Wouldn't you say? Ivy lunged for me, all pretense of control finally shattering. You little... But Jayla and Liam caught her arms, holding her back as she screamed accusations and threats that only served to confirm everything the video had revealed. As security led her away, I heard her yell one last time, I did it all for you, to protect you from yourself. No, I called after her, you did it for you, and now everyone knows exactly who you are. The perfect party was in shambles. But as I looked around at the shocked faces of our family and friends, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. freedom. The truth, as it turned out, was the perfect revenge. The rooftop fell into stunned silence as security escorted Ivy to the elevator. Her perfect makeup was streaked with tears, her designer dress wrinkled from her struggle. Just before the doors closed, she locked eyes with me. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You're nothing without me. Nothing." The elevator dinged shut, and chaos erupted. "I knew something was wrong with those business tips," Uncle Mike said, his voice shaking. "My whole company, my employees, we almost lost everything." "The messages to my ex," Liam muttered, loosening his tie. "She edited them, made it look like I was having an affair." More revelations poured out as people began comparing stories. Years of manipulation unraveling in minutes. Mom collapsed into a chair, her face ashen. "How could I not have seen it? My own daughter." "She fooled all of us," Dad said, putting a hand on her shoulder. "But it's over now." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Check your email, now." "Zane," I called out, "can you pull up my work email?" He typed quickly, then swore under his breath. "She had a dead man's switch. Look." The screen showed dozens of emails, sent automatically to everyone at my company. Doctored photos, fake documents, all painting me as unstable and dangerous. "It's okay," Dad said quickly. "We've got it covered. The cybersecurity team is already sending out evidence that these were fabricated." "But the damage," I started. "We'll show exactly who Ivy is," Jayla cut in. "Think about it. She just proved everything we showed was true." Another buzz, this time from my boss. "Just got some interesting emails. Call me Monday. We need to talk about your sister's interference with the promotion review." "See?" Jayla smiled. Her backup plan just backfired. The party guests were starting to leave, murmuring in shocked clusters. Some stopped to hug me, others to share their own stories of Ivy's manipulation. "The police want statements," Zane said, checking his phone. "They're especially interested in the financial fraud angle with Liam's accounts." Liam pulled out the ring box and opened it. The diamond caught the fairy lights, sparkling innocently. $200,000, he said. "That's how much she'd siphoned from my accounts to pay for this. Said it was my idea, that I'd insisted on getting her the perfect ring." "What will you do with it?" I asked. "Sell it. Donate the money to a charity that helps victims of psychological abuse." He smiled grimly. "Seems fitting." Mom suddenly stood up. "The camera's in your house," she said, her voice breaking. "She watched you sleep? Her own sister?" "Mom, no." She straightened her spine. "No, I need to see everything. All of it. I need to understand what I allowed to happen." "I'll show you," Dad said. "But not tonight. Tonight, we all need to process this." As if on cue, my phone lit up with notifications. Ivy's social media was exploding as the video spread, her carefully curated image crumbling with each share and comment. "She's posting," Zane warned, showing me his screen. Ivy's latest Instagram post was a masterpiece of manipulation, a tearful selfie with a long caption about being betrayed by her jealous sister, about how everything she'd done was out of love and concern for her family. "Don't respond," Jayla advised. "Let her dig herself deeper." She was right. Within minutes, comments were flooding in from people sharing their own experiences with Ivy's manipulation. Her perfect facade was cracking, and each desperate attempt to save it only revealed more truth. "Ms. Peters?" A police officer stepped onto the rooftop. "We need to take your statement about the surveillance and financial fraud charges." As I followed the officer, Liam caught my arm. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for saving me from making the biggest mistake of my life. Thank you for being brave enough to help expose her." The officer led me to a quiet corner where I could see the whole rooftop, the scattered flowers, the abandoned champagne glasses, the remains of Ivy's perfect party. It looked like the aftermath of a storm, which in a way it was. "Start from the beginning," the officer said, opening her notebook. "Tell me everything." I touched the pendant around my neck, still recording, still gathering evidence, one last bit of insurance against whatever revenge Ivy might plan. "It started with my cat," I began. She noticed the hidden cameras before I did. Above us, the fairy lights continued to twinkle, illuminating the wreckage of Ivy's perfect world. Somewhere in the city, she was probably already plotting her comeback, her revenge. But this time, I wasn't afraid. The truth was out, and no amount of perfect planning could put her lies back together again. "She's requesting another family visit," Mom said, setting down her coffee cup. The morning sun streamed through my kitchen windows, catching shadow as she lounged on the windowsill. I told her no. "How are you holding up?" I asked, watching my mother's face carefully. The past few weeks had aged her, but there was a new strength there too. Better, now that I understand. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "The therapist says I need to stop blaming myself for not seeing it sooner." My phone buzzed. Another email from the prosecutor's office. More victims had come forward, strengthening the case against Ivy. The charges now included fraud, stalking, blackmail, and corporate espionage. "Have you read her letter?" Mom asked. I shook my head. The thick envelope sat unopened on my counter. Ivy's perfect handwriting stark against the white paper. "Not interested in more manipulation." "Good." Mom's voice was firm. "The therapist says maintaining boundaries is crucial." The doorbell rang. Shadow's ears perked up, but she didn't hiss. A good sign. It was Jayla and Zane, right on time for our weekly breakfast. "Uncle Mike's business is recovering," Jayla announced as she set down a bag of fresh bagels. "The investors are back on board now that they know the truth about those anonymous tips." "And Liam?" I asked. "Doing well. The charity auction for the ring raised twice its value." Zane pulled out his laptop. "But that's not why we're here. Look at this." He showed us a series of emails he'd recovered, correspondence between Ivy and various people she'd manipulated over the years. Each message revealed another layer of her schemes. "She had backup plans for her backup plans," Jayla said, shaking her head. "But they're all falling apart now." My phone rang, Dad's ringtone. "Hey, what's up?" "Just left the police station," he said. "They found her storage unit. You need to see this." An hour later, we stood in a climate-controlled storage space, staring at walls lined with filing cabinets and computer servers. "Her command center," Zane whispered, running his hands over the equipment. "This is where she monitored everything, everyone." Detective Rivera moved through the space, taking photos. "This is extensive. She kept records of every manipulation, every scheme, like she was proud of it." "She was," I said, opening a drawer labeled Lexus Ongoing Projects. Inside were detailed plans for my life, career sabotage, relationship interference, even a schedule for when to trigger certain insecurities. "We found similar files on dozens of people," Rivera said. "She had plans within plans, contingencies for every scenario." She paused. "Except this one. She never planned for exposure. Back at my place, Mom picked up Ivy's unopened letter. "Maybe we should burn it," she suggested. "Make a ceremony of it." "Wait," Zane said, running a small device over the envelope. "Just checking." "Yeah, there's something electronic inside, some kind of recording device." We all stared at the letter. Even now, even after everything, she was still trying to gather intelligence, still trying to maintain control. "That's it," Mom said, her voice breaking. "That's the last straw." She pulled out her phone and dialed a number we all recognized. Ivy's lawyer. "This is Sylvia. Tell my daughter I'm done. No more visits, no more letters, no more chances. She made her choices." The silence after she hung up felt like a weight lifting. "I'm proud of you, Mom," I said softly. She smiled, tears in her eyes. "I'm proud of you too, for being strong enough to stand up to her, to protect others from what she did to you." Shadow jumped onto the table, purring loudly, making us all laugh. "Smart cat," Jayla said. She knew something was wrong from the start. "Speaking of starts," Zane added, "your promotion came through, the one Ivy tried to block." I nodded. "First day as department head tomorrow. No more looking over my shoulder, no more doubting myself." "To new beginnings," Mom said, raising her coffee cup, "and to the truth, no matter how hard it is to face." We all raised our cups, even as my phone buzzed with another update from the prosecutor's office. But for the first time, I didn't feel any anxiety about what Ivy might do next. Her perfect plans, her careful manipulations, her web of lies, it had all crumbled in the face of simple truth. Shadow stretched in the sunlight, completely at ease. No more hidden cameras, no more secrets, no more perfect lies. Just real life, with all its beautiful imperfections. And that was better than perfect. That was freedom. The smell of barbecue filled our backyard as I watched my brother-in-law Trey charm everyone with his $1,000,000 smile. That smile used to make me feel safe, like everything would always work out. Now it just makes my stomach turn. I'm Summer, and this is the story of how family betrayal taught me the true meaning of karma. "Summer, these burgers are amazing," Trey called out, raising his beer. "Luke really scored marrying a woman who can cook like this." He winked at my husband, who beamed with pride. I forced a smile, trying to ignore the knot in my stomach. Something felt off about Trey today. The way his eyes kept darting around, how his laugh seemed a little too loud. "Mom, can I have another hot dog?" My daughter Caitlin tugged at my shirt, her ponytail bouncing with excitement. "Sure, sweetie." I ruffled her hair, watching her skip away. The sight of her made my heart ache. Just yesterday, I'd been reviewing her college fund statement, dreaming about her future. "Summer, can I talk to you for a minute?" Trey's voice was lower now, serious. He gestured toward the kitchen. "In private?" Inside, Trey leaned against our granite countertop, suddenly looking less like the successful businessman everyone thought he was. "I need your help, Summer. Just temporary. 3 months max." "What kind of help?" I asked, though I already knew where this was heading. "I've got this amazing investment opportunity, but I'm a little short on capital." He ran his hands through his perfectly styled hair. "I was wondering if I could borrow from the kids' college fund. I'll double it when I pay it back." My throat tightened. "Trey, that's their future we're talking about." "Come on, Summer. When have I ever let the family down?" He spread his arms wide. "You know me. I'm good for it." Before I could respond, my mother-in-law Zariah bustled in. "There you two are. What are you plotting in here?" "Just discussing a business opportunity," Trey said smoothly. "Summer's being cautious about investing." Zariah touched my arm. "Oh, honey, you can trust Trey. He's got the golden touch with money. Remember how he helped Luke start his business?" I felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on me. Through the window, I could see Luke playing with Caitlin, both laughing as they tossed a frisbee. "How much?" I heard myself ask. Trey's eyes lit up. "Just 50,000. I'll have it back before you know it." My hands trembled as I signed the transfer papers later that afternoon. Trey had all the documents ready, which should have been my first red flag. As the sun set and our guests started leaving, I headed to the kitchen to clean up. That's when I heard it, Trey's voice from around the corner of the house, talking on his phone. "Yeah, man, it was easier than I thought. These people trust me with everything." His laugh was different now, cold, dismissive. "Family's such a sucker bet." I froze, the plate in my hand nearly slipping to the ground. Through the kitchen window, I could see his reflection in the gathering darkness, pacing and grinning. Don't worry about it. They won't even notice the money's gone until it's too late. And by then, he chuckled again. Well, what are they gonna do? I'm family. The plate finally slipped from my numb fingers, shattering on the floor. The sound must have startled him because he quickly ended his call. Everything okay in there? He called out, his voice back to its usual warm tone. Just dropped a plate, I answered, my own voice surprisingly steady despite the rage building inside me. As I swept up the broken pieces, I could hear him saying goodbye to Luke and Zariah outside. Each shard of ceramic I picked up felt like a piece of my trust falling apart. Need help cleaning up? Luke appeared in the doorway, still smiling from the day's events. I looked at my husband, so trusting, so proud of his big brother, and made a decision. No, I said quietly. I've got this. What I didn't tell him was that I wasn't just talking about the broken plate. I was going to fix this mess, but not in the way anyone expected. Trey had just made the biggest mistake of his life, and he didn't even know it yet. As I heard his car pull away from our house, I gripped the counter edge until my knuckles turned white. He thought family was a sucker bet? Well, he was about to learn that betting against a mother protecting her children's future was the biggest gamble of all. The bank statement stared back at me from my laptop screen, the numbers blurring as I scrolled through transaction after transaction. 3 weeks had passed since the barbecue, and something wasn't adding up. Hey, what are you doing up so late? Luke's voice startled me. I quickly minimized the window. Just checking some numbers, I said, forcing a casual tone. How was dinner with Trey? Luke dropped onto the couch beside me, loosening his tie. Great, he's really excited about this new venture. Says it's gonna change everything. I bit my tongue. The transfers I'd been tracking told a different story, one that led straight to several online gambling sites. Did he mention when he might pay back the loan? I tried to keep my voice steady. Come on, Summer, don't be that person. Luke's smile faded. Trey's never let us down before. I opened my mouth to argue, but stopped when my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, my best friend, and the only person I'd confided in. Found something. Coffee tomorrow? The next morning, I met Sarah at our usual cafe. Her legal pad was already covered in notes. Summer, this isn't good, she said, sliding a document across the table. I did some digging. Trey's business is hemorrhaging money. These are public records showing multiple liens against his properties. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. How bad? Bad enough that he's been borrowing from everyone he knows. You're not the first, just the latest. I pulled out my own research. Look at these transactions. The money went straight from our account to... Well, isn't this cozy? Trey's voice cut through our conversation like ice. He stood there, perfectly dressed as always, but his eyes were hard. Sarah straightened, lawyer mode engaged. Trey, what a surprise. Not really. Small town, everyone knows everyone's business. He pulled up a chair uninvited, including nosy sisters-in-law who can't mind their own. The money you took from my children's future is my business, I shot back. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Borrowed, Summer. The word is borrowed, and I don't appreciate you snooping around my affairs. When are you paying it back? Soon. He leaned forward, but keep pushing, and soon might turn into never. Remember who Luke trusts more. After he left, Sarah grabbed my hand. That was a threat, Summer. We need to document everything. Back home, I found Luke in his office. We need to talk about Trey. If this is about the money again, it's about more than that. I pulled out the documents Sarah had given me. Look at these. Really look at them. Luke scanned the papers, his face growing darker. These could be manipulated. Trey would never... Call the bank yourself, I challenged. Check where the money went. I'm not making this up, Luke. He stared at me for a long moment before picking up his phone. I watched as he dialed, as he asked questions, as the color drained from his face. There has to be an explanation, he whispered after hanging up. There is. I opened my laptop, showing him the gambling site transactions. He has a problem, Luke, and he's using our daughter's future to fund it. Luke slumped in his chair. I'll talk to him. He'll fix this. No. I closed the laptop firmly. Talking isn't enough anymore. We need to act. He's my brother, Summer. And Caitlin is your daughter. My voice cracked. Whose future are you going to protect? Before he could answer, my phone pinged with an email notification. My heart stopped when I saw it was from one of the investment firms I'd been investigating. The attachment showed more transactions, dozens of them, all leading to offshore gambling accounts. Luke, I said quietly, there's more. As I showed him the email, watching his face crumble with each new revelation, I felt no triumph, only sadness and determination. Trey had gambled with the wrong family's future, and now it was time to show him exactly what a mother was capable of when protecting her children. What are you going to do? Luke asked, his voice hollow. I thought of Trey's threat at the cafe, of his smug certainty that family loyalty would protect him. Whatever it takes, I answered, and I need to know if you're with me or against me. Luke stared at the documents scattered across his desk. Proof of his brother's betrayal laid bare in black and white. Finally, he looked up at me, and I saw something shift in his eyes. What's our next move? Sarah's office felt like a war room, with documents spread across her mahogany desk. My stomach churned as I read through another statement showing Trey's deceptions. We need more, Sarah said, tapping her pen against a legal pad. These gambling records are damning, but we need to prove he never intended to repay the loan. What about his business partner? Luke suggested quietly. He'd been mostly silent during our meeting, still processing the betrayal. I sat up straighter. Talon, he's been with Trey since the beginning. And he might talk, Sarah added. I heard rumors their partnership's been strained lately. My phone buzzed. Another text from Zariah asking why we'd missed Sunday dinner. I ignored it. I'll contact Talon, I decided. But we need to be careful. If Trey finds out. He won't, Luke interrupted. I'll keep him distracted. He's been pushing for another family dinner anyway. The next day, I sat in a quiet coffee shop across town, away from our usual spots. Talon arrived exactly on time, looking nothing like the confident businessman I remembered from company parties. His suit was wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding a coffee toward him. I know why you're here. Talon's voice was tired. The money Trey borrowed. Not just mine. How many others? He pulled out his phone, scrolling through files. At least 7 other families, plus what he's taken from the business. He looked up, his expression grim. I've been gathering evidence for months. Why haven't you gone to the authorities? Same reason you haven't. Family complications. My wife's sister invested heavily in our company. If this goes public, he trailed off. I leaned forward. It's going public either way. The question is whether you want to be seen as part of the problem or part of the solution. Talon was quiet for a long moment, stirring his untouched coffee. Finally, he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a USB drive. Everything's here. Bank statements, emails, recorded conversations. He's been using the company to launder money for his gambling debts. He slid the drive across the table. But if anyone asks, you didn't get this from me. Back at Sarah's office, we spent hours going through the files. Each new document revealed another layer of Trey's deception. Look at this. Sarah pointed to an email chain. He was planning to use your money for gambling before he even asked for the loan. This proves premeditation. My phone rang. Trey's number. I showed it to Sarah. Answer it, she mouthed. Put it on speaker. Hello? Summer, dear sister-in-law. His voice oozed charm. Why are you talking to Talon? My heart raced, but I kept my voice steady. What makes you think I am? Small town, remember? People talk, and you're talking to the wrong people. Maybe you should be more worried about what those people are saying. A pause. Is that a threat? No, Trey, that's a warning. The truth has a way of coming out. Careful, Summer. His voice hardened. You're playing a dangerous game. Think about Luke. Think about the family. I am thinking about family, my children's future that you stole. I didn't steal anything. You gave me that money. Under false pretenses. How many others did you scam, Trey? Another pause, longer this time. Meet me tomorrow, just you and me. We can work something out. I caught Sarah's warning look. Not alone. Bring your records, all of them. Meet us at Sarah's office. Bringing lawyers into family business? That's cold. Stealing from your niece's future? That's colder. After I hung up, Sarah gripped my shoulder. You know he won't show. No, I agreed, but now he knows we're serious. I picked up the USB drive, and thanks to Talon, we don't need him to show. Luke called as I was leaving Sarah's office. Trey just called me, ranting about you threatening him. Are you with me on this? I asked, holding my breath. A long pause. All the way, he finally said. But Mom's involved now. She's calling everyone, saying you're trying to destroy the family. I thought of Caitlin, of her dreams we'd planned for, of the trust Trey had shattered. The family was destroyed the moment Trey decided to steal from his own niece. I said, we're just exposing the cracks. As I drove home, I saw Trey's car parked outside our house. He stood in our driveway, that familiar smile plastered on his face, waiting like a spider in its web. Game on, brother-in-law. Game on. The family dinner table felt like a battlefield. Zariah had insisted on hosting, claiming we needed to work things out as a family. I watched Trey charm everyone with stories about his latest business ventures, knowing each word was a lie. Pass the potatoes, Summer? His smile was razor sharp. I handed him the bowl, our fingers briefly touching. How's that investment going, Trey? The one you needed our money for? The table went quiet. Caitlin looked up from her plate, sensing the tension. Thriving, he replied smoothly. These things take time, of course. Really? I cut into my chicken with precise movements. Because I heard your company's facing some difficulties. Summer, Zariah's fork clattered against her plate. This is not the time or place. When is the time, Mom? Luke's quiet voice surprised everyone. When the money's all gone? Trey's facade cracked slightly. Little brother, don't tell me you're buying into these ridiculous accusations. I've seen the proof, Luke said. The gambling sites, the loans, all of it. Caitlin's eyes widened. Uncle Trey gambles? Sweetie, why don't you go watch TV in the living room? I suggested. She hesitated but left when Luke nodded. Well, this is cozy. Trey leaned back, all pretense gone. My own brother and his wife, conspiring against me. It's not conspiring when we have proof, I said. Talon showed us everything. Talon? Trey's laugh was harsh. That backstabbing? That's enough. Zariah stood up. Summer, I expected better from you. Bringing up business matters at dinner, involving Caitlin. Mom, Luke interrupted. Trey took money from your granddaughter's college fund. He's gambling it away. He would never. But I saw doubt flicker in her eyes. Show them, I told Luke. He pulled out his phone, pulling up the documentation we'd prepared. Bank statements, Mom, gambling transactions, evidence from his own business partner. Trey's chair scraped back. This is ridiculous. I don't have to sit here and Sit down. Zariah's voice was steel. She was looking at the phone screen, color draining from her face. Trey, explain this. It's all perfectly legitimate business. $10,000 to Royal Vegas Casino is legitimate business? Luke's voice cracked. $20,000 to Blue Diamond Gaming? You're reading it wrong. Trey stood again. This is a witch hunt. Summer's always been jealous of my success. Success? I laughed. Is that what you call stealing from family? I didn't steal anything. You gave me that money. Under false pretenses. I stood too, hands flat on the table. You said it was for an investment. You said you'd pay it back in 3 months. It went straight to gambling sites, Trey. We have the transfers. Mom, he turned to Zariah, voice softening. You know me. Would I ever do anything to hurt this family? Zariah looked between us, tears in her eyes. I need a moment. She hurried from the room. Happy now? Trey snarled at me. Destroying the family over money? You destroyed this family the moment you decided to gamble with my daughter's future. I shot back. I'll pay it back. With what? Luke asked. The company's broke. Talon showed us the books. Talon needs to learn to keep his mouth shut. Trey's threat hung in the air. Is that what you'll do to him? I asked. What you did to the others who trusted you. Others? Zariah had returned, her face pale. What others? 7 other families, Luke said quietly. All promised returns on their investments, all lost to gambling. Trey moved toward the door. This is all a misunderstanding. Give me time. Time's up, I said. We're going to the police. He froze. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Mom? He looked at Zariah pleadingly. She sat heavily in her chair. What happened to you, Trey? What happened to my boy? Nothing happened. They're twisting everything. The numbers don't lie, Luke said. Neither does Talon. Trey's hand was on the doorknob. You'll regret this, all of you. After he left, we heard his car screech out of the driveway. Zariah was crying silently. Mom. Luke moved to comfort her, but she held up a hand. How much? She asked. How much did he take? From us, 50,000, I said. From others, we're still finding out. She nodded slowly, then looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. What are you going to do? I thought of Caitlin in the other room, of her future hanging in the balance, of all the other families Trey had betrayed. What I should have done weeks ago, I said. I'm going to make him face consequences. Sarah's office buzzed with activity as we prepared our case. Documents covered every surface, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from other victims who'd heard about our investigation. That's the 4th family this morning, Sarah said, adding another statement to our growing pile. Trey's been busy. Luke paced by the window. He's not answering my calls. His office says he hasn't been in for days. Because he's at the Grand Casino, I said, holding up my phone. Someone just saw him there. Luke grabbed his keys. I'm going. Not alone. I stood up. I'm coming with you. The drive to the casino was tense. Luke's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. What if he's lost it all? Then he'll face the consequences, I said, but my stomach churned. The Grand Casino loomed ahead, its gaudy lights harsh in the afternoon sun. We found Trey at a blackjack table, surrounded by empty glasses. Well, well, he slurred, not looking up from his cards. The dynamic duo. We need to talk, Luke said. Now? I'm a little busy. Trey placed another bet. Unless you're here to stake me, I'm due for a win. I stepped forward. How much have you lost today? None of your business. Actually, I pulled out my phone, showing him the legal documents. It is. These are statements from 7 other families you've scammed. We're filing charges. His cards dropped. You're bluffing. Try me. I swiped to show more documents. Fraud, theft by deception, embezzlement. Sarah says you're looking at serious time. Finally, he looked at us. His eyes were bloodshot, his expensive suit wrinkled. You'd send your own brother to jail? You sent yourself there, Luke said quietly, the moment you stole from my daughter. A security guard approached. Is everything okay here? Fine. Trey smiled, but it was shaky. My family was just leaving. Actually, I said, we're not without answers. Trey stood abruptly, chips scattering. You want answers? Fine, let's talk outside. In the parking lot, the facade crumbled completely. You think you're so righteous? He spat. Perfect summer, perfect Luke, perfect little family. This isn't about being perfect, I said. This is about you stealing from your niece. I was going to pay it back. One big win. That's all I needed. And the other families? Luke demanded. Were you going to pay them back too? Trey laughed, a hollow sound. You don't understand. The rush, the thrill when you're winning. I had it under control. Under control. I pulled up the bank statements. You lost $30,000 yesterday alone. Because you're pressuring me. If you'd just given me time. Time for what? Luke stepped closer. To lose more? To destroy more families? A sleek black car pulled into the lot. Talon stepped out, followed by 2 police officers. What is this? Trey's voice cracked. Justice, I said simply. Talon's pressing charges for embezzlement. We're all testifying. You can't do this to me. He grabbed Luke's arm. Brother, please, Mom will never forgive you. Mom's the one who called the police, Luke said quietly. Trey's face went ash white. What? After you left dinner, she found your old phone, saw all the messages from bookies, the threats. She called them herself. The officers approached. Mr. Freeman, we need you to come with us. This isn't happening, Trey muttered. This can't be happening. It is, I said. And do you want to know the saddest part? If you'd just been honest, asked for help with your gambling addiction, the family would have supported you. Instead, you chose to steal and lie. I'll destroy you, he hissed as the officers led him away. All of you, this isn't over. Actually, Talon stepped forward. It is. The DA has everything. Bank records, witness statements, all of it. It's over, Trey. We watched as they put him in the police car. Luke's shoulders shook slightly. He did this to himself, I said softly, taking his hand. I know. He squeezed my hand, but it still hurts. My phone buzzed. A text from Zariah. Is it done? I typed back. Yes, they have him. Her response came quickly. Come over. Caitlin's here. We need to talk about the future. As we drove away from the casino, I watched Trey's police escort in the rearview mirror. He'd gambled with more than money. He'd bet on family loyalty protecting him from consequences. It was a bet he'd lost spectacularly. What now? Luke asked. Now? I thought of Caitlin, of the other families, of the long road ahead. Now we rebuild. But first, we make sure justice is served. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. News of Trey's arrest had spread like wildfire through our small town, and everyone wanted details of the Golden Boy's fall from grace. Mrs. Freeman, a reporter shoved a microphone in my face. Is it true your brother-in-law stole from multiple families? Luke pulled me closer as we pushed through the crowd. Sarah met us at the top of the steps, legal briefcase in hand. Ready? She asked, straightening my collar. Remember, let me do most of the talking. Inside, we found Zariah already seated in the front row. Her face was drawn, but her spine was steel straight. Did you see the newspaper? She asked, holding up the morning edition. The headline screamed, Local businessman accused of family fraud scheme. Mom, you don't have to be here, Luke said gently. Yes, I do. She gripped her purse tightly. He needs to see that actions have consequences. The bailiff called for order as Trey was led in. His designer suit had been replaced by prison orange, his confident stride now a shuffle. When he saw us, his eyes narrowed. "All rise," the bailiff announced. "The Honorable Judge Martinez presiding." The preliminary hearing moved quickly. Sarah presented our evidence methodically: bank statements, witness testimonies, Talon's documentation. With each new piece of evidence, Trey seemed to shrink further into himself. "Your Honor," his lawyer argued, "my client is willing to make restitution." "With what money?" Sarah interrupted. "Our investigation shows Mr. Freeman has gambling debts exceeding $2 million. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Zariah's hand found mine, squeezing tight. "Furthermore," Sarah continued, "we have evidence that Mr. Freeman was attempting to flee the country. Airline tickets to non-extradition countries were found in his possession at the time of arrest." Trey's lawyer shuffled his papers nervously. "My client, your client." Sarah's voice, cut like glass, systematically defrauded his own family members and multiple others. He preyed on trust and familial bonds for personal gain. The judge peered over his glasses. "Mr. Freeman, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Trey stood slowly. "Your Honor, I had every intention of paying everyone back. I just needed time. Time to lose more money gambling? I couldn't help myself." Sarah shot me a warning look. "Order," the judge warned. Then to Trey, "Continue." "These people," Trey gestured to us, "they're making me out to be some kind of monster, but they gave me that money willingly. Ask them." "Under false pretenses," Sarah countered, "with fraudulent documentation promising returns on legitimate investments." "The evidence is quite compelling," the judge noted. "I'm setting bail at $5 million. Trey's face went pale. I can't afford that." "Then you'll remain in custody until trial." The gavel came down with finality. As they led Trey away, he turned to us. "This isn't over. Family doesn't do this to family." "You did this to yourself." Zariah's voice rang out clear and strong. "Every time you chose gambling over honesty, every time you stole from your own blood." Outside, the reporters were waiting. Sarah handled them professionally, while Luke, Zariah, and I slipped out a side door. "Mom?" Luke asked as we reached the parking lot. "Are you okay?" "No," she admitted, "but I'm proud of us, all of us." She turned to me. "Especially you, Summer. You saw the truth when I was too blind to see it." My phone buzzed, a text from Talon. "More victims coming forward. DA wants to meet tomorrow." "It's not over," I told them, showing the message. "No," Luke agreed, "but at least the truth is out now." We drove to pick up Caitlin from school. She ran to us, waving a paper. "Mom, Dad, I got an A on my science project." I hugged her tight, thinking of the college fund we were fighting to recover. "That's my girl." "Is Uncle Trey still in trouble?" she asked quietly. "Yes, sweetie." Luke knelt beside her. "He did some bad things, and now he has to face the consequences. Like when I broke Mom's vase and had to use my allowance to buy a new one." A laugh bubbled up despite everything. "Something like that, just bigger." Back home, Sarah called with updates. More victims were emerging. The DA was building an even stronger case, and forensic accountants had traced money to offshore accounts. "We're going to win this," she assured me. "He's not getting away with it." After hanging up, I found Luke in our bedroom, looking at old family photos. One showed him and Trey as kids, both grinning at the camera. "We did the right thing," I said softly. "I know." He put the photo down. "But doing the right thing still hurts like hell." The courtroom fell silent as I took the witness stand. 3 months had passed since Trey's arrest, and the trial was finally reaching its climax. He sat at the defense table, still wearing his prison orange, still wearing that smirk, though it looked more desperate now. "Please state your name for the record," the prosecutor began. "Summer Freeman." "And what is your relationship to the defendant?" "He's my brother-in-law, my husband Luke's older brother." The prosecutor nodded, approaching with a document. "Can you tell us about the events of June 15th? "That was the day Trey asked to borrow money from our daughter's college fund." My voice stayed steady as I recounted the barbecue, the private conversation, the overheard phone call. "And how much did the defendant take?" $50,000. "Objection." Trey's lawyer stood. "The word take implies theft. My client was given this money." "Sustained," the judge agreed. "Rephrase. How much did Mr. Freeman receive from your daughter's college fund?" I repeated the amount, then detailed the paper trail Sarah had helped us uncover. With each revelation, I watched Trey's smirk fade. "Mrs. Freeman," the prosecutor continued, "what made you suspicious?" "The phone call I overheard. He was laughing about how easy it was to get money from family, called us suckers." I looked directly at Trey. Then I found the gambling transactions. Trey's lawyer cross-examined aggressively. "Isn't it true you've always been jealous of my client's success?" "What success?" I shot back. "The facade he maintained while stealing from his own family?" "Answer the question, Mrs. Freeman." "No, I wasn't jealous. I was suspicious. There's a difference." "And isn't it true you orchestrated this whole investigation to destroy my client's reputation?" "He destroyed his own reputation when he chose to gamble with children's futures." The defense lawyer changed tactics. "You gave him this money willingly, correct?" "Under false pretenses. He claimed it was for a legitimate investment." "But you gave it willingly?" "Because he was family." My voice cracked slightly. "Because we trusted him." After I stepped down, Talon took the stand. His testimony was devastating. Detailed records of embezzlement, secret gambling accounts, desperate attempts to cover losses with new victims' money. During a recess, Luke found me in the hallway. "You did great up there." "Thanks." I leaned against him. "How's your mom holding up?" "She's next to testify. Says she's ready." Zariah's testimony proved to be the final nail in Trey's coffin. She spoke with quiet dignity about finding his old phone, about the threatening messages from bookies, about her own role in calling the police. "My son," she said, looking directly at Trey, "chose gambling over family, chose lies over trust. As his mother, it breaks my heart. But as a grandmother, I cannot stay silent while he steals from innocent children." Trey finally cracked. He stood up suddenly, shocking everyone. "You're all against me. This is a conspiracy." "Mr. Freeman, sit down," the judge ordered. "You think you're better than me?" he shouted. "I made this family. Everything Luke has is because of me." "Remove the defendant," the judge commanded. As guards approached, Trey's rage turned to desperation. "Mom, please, tell them I was going to pay it back." Zariah didn't flinch. "Like you paid back the others? Like you paid back Mrs. Watson, who lost her retirement? Or the Thompsons, who lost their house?" They dragged him out, his shouts echoing through the courtroom. The judge called for order. During closing arguments, Sarah sat with us in the gallery. The prosecutor's summary was damning: systematic fraud, betrayal of trust, gambling addiction left untreated, multiple victims across state lines. The jury took only 2 hours to reach a verdict. On the charge of grand theft by deception, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of fraud, guilty. The guilty verdicts kept coming. With each one, I felt the weight of the past months lifting. When the judge announced the sentence, 15 years with no possibility of parole for 8 years, plus full restitution to all victims, Trey finally stopped smirking. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed again. This time, I faced them directly. "Mrs. Freeman, What do you say to families who might be facing similar situations? I thought of all the nights I doubted myself, all the family tension, all the pain of exposing the truth. Trust your instincts, I said firmly. And remember that real family doesn't steal from family. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. As we walked away, Caitlin ran up from where she'd been waiting with a family friend. Is it over, Mom? I hugged her tight. Yes, sweetie, the truth won. And my college fund? The judge ordered Uncle Trey to pay it all back, plus extra. She nodded solemnly. Good, because I want to be a lawyer like Aunt Sarah. Despite everything, we all laughed. Sometimes justice comes full circle. The doorbell chimed as I balanced a tray of cookies, fresh from the oven. Opening the door revealed Sarah, clutching a thick manila envelope. They found it, she announced, striding into our kitchen. The offshore account Trey was hiding. The forensic accountants finally cracked it. Luke looked up from helping Caitlin with her homework. How much? Nearly $1 million. Sarah spread documents across our counter. They're starting the recovery process. Your family's money will be the first returned, along with the Thompsons and Watsons. My hands shook slightly as I set down the cookies. All of it? Plus interest. Sarah smiled. The judge was very clear about that part. The front door opened again, Zariah carrying grocery bags. Since the trial, she'd been spending more time with us, making up for lost years of focusing on the wrong son. I brought ingredients for dinner, she announced, then noticed Sarah's presence. Oh, is this good news or bad news? The best news, Luke said, showing her the documents. Zariah sank into a chair. He really had that much hidden away? More than that, Sarah explained. The gambling wasn't his only secret. He was running a whole Ponzi scheme through his business. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Talon, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in months. Did Sarah tell you about the account? We're just going through the details, I said, offering him a cookie. There's more, he added. The company's being restructured. Luke, we want you to take over Trey's position. Luke's eyes widened. Me? You know the business better than anyone, and the board trusts you. Caitlin tugged at my sleeve. Mom, does this mean my college fund is safe? More than safe, I hugged her. It means all the wrong things are being made right. Speaking of right, Sarah pulled out another document. Mrs. Watson wanted you to have this. It was a thank you card, signed by dozens of Trey's victims. Messages of gratitude filled every space. Thank you for being brave. You gave us our lives back. Your strength helped us all. The support group is really helping people, Sarah explained. Victims of financial fraud often feel so alone, so ashamed. You changed that. We all did, I corrected, looking around at our kitchen full of allies. Zariah wiped her eyes. I keep thinking about Trey, alone in that cell. He made his choices, Luke said gently, but he's getting help now. Real help for the gambling addiction. He wrote to me, she admitted. Says he's finally understanding what he did wrong, that he's sorry. Actions speak louder than words, I said, but without bitterness. The anger had faded, replaced by something like peace. Speaking of actions, Talon pulled out his phone. The story's gone national. People are calling you a hero, Summer. I shook my head. I'm not a hero. I'm just a mom who refused to let someone steal her daughter's future. That's what makes you a hero, Caitlin said seriously, making us all laugh. The evening turned into an impromptu celebration. As we gathered around our dining table, I looked at each face. Luke, stronger for having chosen truth over blind loyalty. Zariah, wiser and more present. Sarah and Talon, who risked their careers to fight for justice. And Caitlin, already showing signs of the fierce advocate she might become. I have an announcement. Caitlin stood up suddenly. I got the highest grade on my essay about moral courage. What was your topic? Talon asked. She beamed. I wrote about Mom, about how sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting dragons, but standing up to family when they're wrong. Luke squeezed my hand under the table, and, she continued, Ms. Roberts wants me to read it at the school assembly. She says it might help other kids whose families are going through hard times. That's my girl, I whispered, throat tight with emotion. As dinner wound down, Sarah gathered her documents. The restitution payments will start next week. Every victim will get their money back. It's not just about the money anymore, I realized aloud. It's about showing that truth matters, that trust is sacred, that family doesn't mean enabling wrong choices, and that mothers are a force to be reckoned with, Zariah added with a wink. Later, after everyone had left and Caitlin was in bed, Luke and I sat on our porch swing. The night was quiet, peaceful. Thank you, he said suddenly. For what? For being stronger than all of us, for seeing the truth when we couldn't, for protecting our family by being willing to break it apart to save it. I leaned against him, watching the stars. Sometimes the deepest wounds lead to the greatest healing. Sometimes the hardest battles leave you stronger. And sometimes, just sometimes, doing the right thing brings its own kind of peace. We're going to be okay, I said softly, and for the first time in months, I knew it was absolutely true.
The last time I saw my brother Mason, he was walking away with everything our parents had worked for their entire lives. I remember standing in our family home's driveway, watching his Mercedes disappear around the corner, taking with it not just my inheritance, but also my faith in family. My name is Celeste, and this is the story of how my brother's betrayal became the catalyst for my greatest triumph. Just 3 months earlier, we'd been sharing tearful hugs at our parents' funeral. Mom and Dad's private plane had gone down somewhere over the Rockies. Mason held me as I sobbed through the service, whispering that he'd always take care of his baby sister. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my big brother, my protector since I was in pigtails. We need to talk about the will, Mason said one evening, setting 2 glasses of wine on the kitchen counter. The same kitchen where Mom used to make us hot chocolate on cold winter mornings. I've been speaking with the lawyers. I took a sip of wine. What did they say? They're suggesting we liquidate everything. The house, Dad's business, their investments. He leaned forward, eyes intense. I can handle all of it. You don't need to worry about a thing. Shouldn't we discuss this together? I asked. I mean, I have some ideas about Dad's company. Mason's laugh cut me off. Come on, Cel. You've never run a business in your life. You majored in art history, for God's sake. That doesn't mean I can't learn. Dad always said, Dad's gone. His voice turned sharp, and someone needs to make practical decisions. I should have seen it coming. The late-night meetings with lawyers I wasn't invited to. The documents he needed me to sign right away because the deadline was approaching. The way he brushed off my questions about the estate's value. Just trust me, he kept saying. I'm handling everything. The truth came in the form of a letter from his lawyer. Mason had somehow managed to transfer everything into his name. The house, Dad's company, their savings, all of it. He'd used my signatures on those rushed documents against me, claiming I'd willingly signed away my rights to the inheritance. You're making a mistake, Isabella, my best friend, said when I called her in tears. You need to fight this. Get a lawyer. With what money? I laughed bitterly. He's cleaned out everything, Bella, everything. The confrontation happened on a Sunday afternoon. Mason was supervising the movers who were packing up our childhood home, the home he'd just sold without telling me. How could you do this? I demanded, following him through the half-empty house. They were our parents, Mason. Both of ours. He turned to face me, and I barely recognized my brother in his cold expression. Look, this is for your own good. You've always been the dreamer, Cel. You'd blow through this money in a year on some artistic venture or whatever. I'm the practical one. I know how to manage wealth. So this is you protecting me? My voice cracked. By leaving me with nothing? You'll thank me someday, he said, checking his Rolex, Dad's Rolex, when you learn to stand on your own feet instead of relying on handouts. That was the last conversation we had. 5 years ago today. I watched him drive away with everything our parents had built, everything they'd meant to leave for both of us. The spring air was warm, but I felt cold to my core. That night, I sat on the front steps of what used to be my home, looking up at the stars. The same stars Mom used to tell us stories about when we were kids. Mason thought he was teaching me a lesson about standing on my own feet. Fine. I'd learned that lesson so well it would come back to haunt him. "You okay?" Isabella asked, sitting beside me. She'd come over as soon as I texted. "No," I admitted, wiping my eyes. "But I will be." "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath, feeling something hard and determined settle in my chest. "I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to build something bigger than anything he could steal." "From scratch?" Isabella raised an eyebrow. "That's going to be tough." "Good," I said, standing up, because I want him to see exactly what his baby sister can do with nothing but determination and spite. The moving truck had left hours ago, taking with it the last pieces of my old life. But sitting there under the stars, I made myself a promise. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. And somewhere out there, my brother had no idea what was coming. 5 years can change everything. I learned that while scrubbing toilets at a startup tech company, watching how the executives walked past me like I was invisible. Perfect. Being invisible meant I could listen, learn, and plan. "You missed a spot," my supervisor said one evening, pointing to a corner of the break room floor I was mopping. I nodded and adjusted my cleaning cart. As I worked, I could hear 2 executives discussing their latest project through the thin walls of the conference room. "The interface is all wrong," one said. "Users want simplicity, not whatever this is." I smiled to myself. They were right. I'd seen their product demo on a computer screen someone had left open. Their approach was all wrong, and I knew exactly how to fix it. That night, I sketched out my ideas on the back of my cleaning schedule. 5 years of odd jobs had taught me more about business than any MBA program could. I'd worked as a barista, watching how successful coffee shops operated. I'd been a receptionist at a law firm, learning how contracts worked. And now, cleaning offices at a tech company, I was learning their secrets too. "You're still here?" A deep voice startled me. I looked up to see Christian, the company's CEO, standing in the doorway. I quickly tried to hide my sketches. "I was just finishing up, sir." He walked over, eyes catching the papers I was trying to tuck away. "What's that?" "Nothing, just, these are interface designs," he said, picking up one of my sketches. "And they're actually quite good. Did you do these?" I straightened my back. "Yes, sir. I noticed some issues with the current design and thought, 'You're the cleaning lady,'" he said, but not unkindly. "How do you know about UI design?" "I watch, I learn, and I have a lot of time to think while I'm cleaning." He studied me for a long moment. "Come to my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp." That meeting changed everything. Christian listened as I explained my ideas, not just for the interface, but for improving several aspects of their business I'd observed. By the end of the hour, I wasn't a janitor anymore. I was their new junior project manager. "You have raw talent," Christian told me, "but you need refinement. I'll mentor you if you're willing to work harder than you've ever worked before." I thought about Mason, probably sitting in our father's old office. I'm ready. The next 2 years were a blur of 18-hour days, learning everything Christian could teach me. I absorbed knowledge like a sponge, turning my observations into innovations. The company's products improved, and so did my position. "You're wasted here," Christian said one evening, after I'd successfully launched my 3rd project. "You need to start your own company." I laughed. "With what money?" "With mine." He slid a business card across his desk. "I'm also a venture capitalist, and I think you're ready for the big leagues." That's when Isabella called. She'd been tracking my progress all these years, and now she had news that made my heart race. "Remember Taylor?" she asked. "That woman who used to compete with your brother's company. She's looking for a partner for a new venture. Someone with fresh ideas and determination." "Taylor?" I remembered her. She'd nearly beaten Mason in several deals. "Why would she want to partner with me?" "Because I told her about you," Isabella said. "About your ideas, your drive. Meet with her, Cell. This could be huge." The meeting was set for the following week at an upscale restaurant. I wore a borrowed suit and carried a folder full of proposals. "So," Taylor said, studying me over her wine glass, "you're Mason's sister." My heart stopped. You know, I make it my business to know everything about potential partners, she smiled. Don't worry, I hate him as much as you do. He tried to sabotage my last 3 deals. I'm nothing like my brother, I said firmly. I know, that's why I'm interested. She leaned forward. I have the connections and experience. Christian has the capital. You have the innovation and drive. Together we could build something extraordinary. And compete directly with Mason? Taylor's smile turned predatory. That's just a bonus. As I left the restaurant that night, my phone buzzed with a text from Isabella. How did it go? I looked up at the city skyline, remembering that night under the stars 5 years ago. It went perfectly, I texted back. Time to show my brother what his baby sister can really do. The game was about to change, and Mason wouldn't know what hit him until it was too late. Wolf Tech Solutions, I said, testing the name out loud in our newly leased office space. Empty now, but not for long. Has a nice ring to it, Taylor said, measuring the windows for blinds. Your brother will hate it, I smiled. He doesn't own our family name. The next few months were a whirlwind. Taylor's connections and my innovations proved to be a perfect match. We focused on developing smart home technology that actually worked the way people needed it to, something my father's company, now run into the ground by Mason, had failed to do. Your 9 a.m. is here. Layla, my new assistant, poked her head into my office. And you have that investor call at 10. I nodded, straightening my jacket. No more borrowed suits. These days, I could afford my own. The morning meeting was with a potential client, a major retailer looking to modernize their stores. As I walked them through our presentation, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. Gone was the invisible cleaning lady. In her place stood someone who commanded attention. Impressive proposal, their CEO said, but why should we trust such a new company? Because we're hungry, I replied, and we have nothing to lose and everything to prove. They signed the contract that afternoon. Isabella, now our HR director, burst into my office later that day. Have you seen this? She thrust her tablet at me. It was a business news article. Rising star in tech. Wolf Tech Solutions disrupts industry. Keep reading, Isabella urged. My eyes scanned down to a quote from an anonymous industry insider. Sources say Mason Wolf is increasingly concerned about this new competitor. The similarity in names hasn't gone unnoticed, and rumors suggest there might be a connection. I handed the tablet back. Let him wonder. There's something else. Isabella hesitated. Glenn called. My head snapped up. Glenn had been Mason's business partner until my brother's shady dealings drove him away. What did he want? To invest. He says he's been watching us, and he likes what he sees. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. Glenn knew who I was. He'd been at our parents' funeral. If he was reaching out now... Set up a meeting. The meeting with Glenn was enlightening. He arrived looking older than I remembered, but his eyes were sharp. Your brother screwed me over, he said without preamble, just like he screwed you over. Ancient history, I replied coolly. Not so ancient. He's been making mistakes, Celeste, big ones. His company, your father's company, is struggling, and now you're here, building something better. I kept my face neutral. Are you investing because you believe in us, or because you want revenge on Mason? Glenn smiled. Can it be both? I have 10 million ready to go, no strings attached. Later that night, I sat in my office, staring at the city lights. Taylor found me there. Take the money, she said, pouring us both a drink. Glenn's right. Mason's company is vulnerable. With that investment, we could expand faster, hit harder. It feels too easy, I admitted, like karma's just falling into my lap. You call the last 5 years easy? Taylor scoffed. You earned this, Celeste, every bit of it. My phone buzzed, a text from Layla. Major tech conference next month. Mason's company will be there. Want me to book our booth? I showed Taylor the message. Perfect timing, she said. With Glenn's investment, we could make quite a splash, really introduce ourselves to the industry. I thought about Mason, about how he'd dismissed me as just a dreamer, about how he thought I'd never amount to anything without his protection. Book it, I texted back to Layla. Then to Taylor. Call Glenn, tell him we accept. To karma. Taylor raised her glass. To karma, I echoed. but my stomach churned. Something about this felt too perfect, too neat. As if reading my thoughts, Taylor added, "You know he'll be there, right, Mason? The conference will be the first time you've seen him since he drove away with everything?" I finished. "Good. Let him see what his baby sister built from nothing." But as I looked out at the city lights, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was all building towards something bigger than revenge. The conference was a month away. Mason had no idea who was behind Wolf Tech Solutions. No idea his sister had risen from the ashes of his betrayal. And in just 4 weeks, everything would change. The tech conference buzzed with energy, our booth drawing constant attention. I stood back, watching Layla demonstrate our latest smart home interface to an impressed crowd. "Your booth is stealing the show," Christian said, appearing beside me, "but you haven't stopped looking at the entrance for the past hour. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who knows what you're looking for." He touched my arm. "He's here, by the way. Saw him at registration." My heart skipped. How did he look? Like a man who's lost his edge. No more Rolex. I was about to respond when Isabella rushed over, her face flushed. "Heads up, Mason's heading this way." "Already?" I stepped behind a display panel. "I'm not ready." But there he was, my brother, looking nothing like the confident man who'd driven away with our inheritance 5 years ago. His suit was off the rack, his shoes scuffed. He moved through the crowd like someone who'd forgotten how to command a room. "Welcome to Wolf Tech Solutions." Layla greeted him cheerfully, unaware of who he was. "Would you like a demonstration?" Mason's eyes darted across our booth, taking in the sleek displays and the crowd of interested investors. "This is impressive. Who owns this company?" "Our CEO will be speaking at the main presentation this afternoon." Layla replied smoothly. "You should attend." I watched him examine our logo, his brow furrowing at our family name. Before he could ask more questions, Taylor appeared. "Ah, Mason," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "What brings you to our humble booth?" He stiffened. "Taylor, this is yours?" "I'm just a partner, but stick around. You'll meet our CEO soon enough." Mason's face darkened. "I've heard rumors about this company. The name, the timing. It's not subtle. Neither was stealing your sister's inheritance." Taylor shot back quietly. I held my breath, watching the color drain from Mason's face. Before he could respond, an announcement echoed through the convention center. "Keynote presentation beginning in 15 minutes. You should find a good seat," Taylor suggested. "It's going to be quite a show." Mason walked away, glancing back at our booth repeatedly. Once he was gone, I emerged from my hiding spot, hands shaking. "You okay?" Isabella asked. "No," I admitted. "But I will be. How's the presentation looking?" "Perfect," Taylor said. "Ready to shock the industry?" The main hall was packed when I stepped onto the stage. Under the bright lights, I could barely make out individual faces, but I knew exactly where Mason was sitting. 3rd row, center. "Good afternoon," I began. "I'm Celeste Wolf, CEO of Wolf Tech Solutions." The ripple of whispers was immediate. I saw Mason bolt upright in his seat. 5 years ago, I learned the hard way that technology should serve people, not the other way around. That innovation without integrity is meaningless. That sometimes you have to lose everything to build something better. My eyes locked with Mason's. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Today, I'm proud to announce our latest innovation." I launched into our presentation, showcasing the technology we'd developed. With each slide, with each demonstration, I could see Mason sinking lower in his seat. The applause was thunderous when I finished. Investors swarmed the stage, cards in hand. Through the crowd, I saw Mason standing at the back of the hall, staring at me with an unreadable expression. "Brilliant," Christian said later at the reception. "Your stock price is going to soar tomorrow." "Mason's been asking around about you," Isabella added. "Apparently his company's in trouble. They're laying off staff next week." I watched my brother across the room, now standing alone by the bar. The same way I'd stood alone that night he drove away with everything. "Ms. Wolf?" A nervous voice interrupted my thoughts. It was Mason's assistant. I recognized her from my research. "Mr. Wolf would like to speak with you. He's prepared to discuss a potential collaboration." I caught Taylor's eye across the room. She raised an eyebrow, asking silently if I wanted her to run interference. "Tell him," I said clearly, "that my schedule is quite full. But he's welcome to apply for a position through our HR department, just like anyone else. The assistant's eyes widened as she caught my meaning. As she hurried back to Mason, I saw him receive my message. He looked up, meeting my gaze across the crowded room. For the first time in 5 years, I saw something I never expected to see in my brother's eyes: fear. 2 weeks after the conference, Mason's resume landed on my desk. Isabella brought it herself, a slight smirk on her face. "He actually did it," she said, dropping the folder in front of me. "Applied for a senior project manager position. His cover letter is interesting." I opened the folder. The resume was impressive, or would have been, if I didn't know the truth behind each accomplishment. The cover letter, though, made me pause. "Did you read this?" I asked Isabella. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hire," she quoted, "but I'm out of options, and you're the best in the industry now." Pretty humble for Mason, isn't it? A knock at my door interrupted us. Layla poked her head in. "He's here for the interview." "Already?" I glanced at my watch. "He's 20 minutes early." "Should I tell him you're busy?" I stood up, smoothing my dress. "No, send him in." Mason entered my office like a different person from the brother I knew. Gone was the arrogant stride, replaced by careful, measured steps. He'd shaved his designer stubble, and his suit, while clean, had definitely seen better days. "Celeste," he said softly. "Thank you for seeing me." "It's Ms. Wolfe in this office," I corrected him. "Please, sit down." He sat, hands folded in his lap. Through the glass walls, I could see other employees trying to sneak glances at our reunion. "Your resume says you have experience in project management," I began, professional and cold. "Celeste, Ms. Wolfe, can we talk about—" "About what?" I cut him off. "About how you stole my inheritance? About how you left me with nothing? Or about how that was supposedly for my own good?" He flinched. "I was wrong. I know that now." "Wrong about what specifically? About my ability to handle money? About my business sense? Please, enlighten me." "About everything." His voice cracked. "I watched your presentation at the conference. What you've built, it's incredible. Better than anything Dad's company ever did. Better than anything I could do." I leaned back in my chair, studying him. "Why are you really here, Mason?" "I'm broke," he admitted. "The company, Dad's company, I ran it into the ground. I made bad decisions, trusted the wrong people. Last week I had to lay off half the staff. And now you want a job from your little sister, the dreamer, the one who needed protecting from herself?" He looked down at his hands. "I deserve that. I deserve worse. But I'm asking for a chance. Any position, any role, I'll start at the bottom if I have to." A memory flashed. Me in my cleaning uniform, mopping floors, watching and learning. I pressed a button on my phone. "Layla, please bring in the janitorial staff application." Mason's head snapped up. "What?" "You said any position," I reminded him. "Did you mean it?" I have an MBA, years of experience. "And I had an art history degree when you left me with nothing," I cut in. "You want to prove yourself? Start where I started." Layla brought in the application. Mason stared at it for a long moment before slowly reaching for the pen. "One condition," I added. "You don't tell anyone you're my brother. You earn everything on your own merit, just like I did." He nodded, beginning to fill out the form. "The other employees, they don't know?" "Only my executive team knows, and they're loyal to me, not you." As he wrote, I noticed his hands trembling slightly. "When can I start?" "Monday, 6 a.m. sharp. Layla will show you out." After he left, Isabella came back in. "A janitor? Really?" "It's perfect," Taylor said, entering from the side door where she'd been listening. "Let him learn humility the hard way." "Are you sure about this?" Isabella asked, "having him here, watching him every day?" I walked to the window, watching Mason leave the building. He looked up, seeing me there, and for a moment I remembered us as kids, him pushing me on the swing in our backyard, promising to always look out for me. "You know what Dad used to say?" I turned to my friends. "That the true measure of a person isn't how they handle success, but how they handle starting over." "And you want to see if Mason can start over?" Taylor concluded. "No," I corrected her. "I want to see if he can earn his way back. Not just to success, but to being my brother again." Isabella squeezed my hand. "Monday should be interesting." I looked at Mason's application on my desk. Monday will be just the beginning. 3 months into Mason's new role, I watched through my office window as he mopped the lobby floor. His once manicured hands were rough from cleaning chemicals, his designer haircut grown out. "He's actually good at it," Layla said, bringing in my morning coffee. "Never complains, always shows up early. The other cleaning staff love him." "Any idea they're working with a former CEO?" "None. He keeps to himself mostly. Though," she hesitated. "What is it?" "Yesterday I saw him helping the cafeteria staff during lunch rush, voluntarily. Said he noticed they were understaffed." I was about to respond when Isabella burst in. "We have a problem, a big one." She closed the door behind her and lowered her voice. "Remember those shady deals Mason made before his company tanked? They're coming back to haunt him, and potentially us." "What do you mean?" "Two men were asking about him in the lobby. They didn't look like businessmen, if you know what I mean. More like the kind of people who break kneecaps for a living." I pressed my intercom. "Send Mason up, now." 5 minutes later, he stood in my office, still in his cleaning uniform, looking nervous. "Sit down," I ordered. "Tell me about Victor Santos." His face went pale. "How do you—" "Answer the question." He slumped in the chair. "I borrowed money from him when the company was failing. He's not the kind of lender you find at a bank." "How much?" $2 million. I stood up, pacing. "And now his collectors are sniffing around my company, putting my employees at risk?" "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'll leave. Find somewhere else." "No." The word came out sharper than I intended. "Running away is what got you into this mess. Tell me everything. Now." For the next hour, Mason laid out the whole sorry tale. Bad investments, desperate decisions, loans from people who charged interest by the week. By the end, I felt sick. "These people," I said slowly, "they're dangerous?" He nodded. "Victor has a reputation. He doesn't just take money as payment. Sometimes he demands favors, business information, trade secrets. And now you work for his biggest competitor." I connected the dots. "He thinks you're here to spy for him." I would never— "Save it." I pressed my intercom again. "Taylor, my office. Now." Taylor arrived moments later, taking in the scene. Finally dealing with the Santos situation, I spun to face her. "You knew?" "I keep tabs on all potential threats." She shrugged. "Was waiting to see if Mason would come clean about it." I turned back to my brother. "Here's what's going to happen. Taylor, call our lawyers. Mason, you're going to tell them everything, every detail, every document, every conversation." "It won't matter," he said. "Victor doesn't care about legal—" "No," I cut him off. "But the FBI does. And I'm betting Victor has enough enemies that they'd love to build a case." "You'd do that?" Mason looked up. "Help me? After everything?" "I'm not doing it for you," I said coldly. "I'm protecting my company, my employees." But as I watched him leave with Taylor to meet the lawyers, I remembered something else. A night long ago, when I was 12 and terrified of the dark. Mason had sat outside my door all night, keeping watch, making sure I felt safe. Later that evening, as I was preparing to leave, I saw Mason finishing his shift. He was moving slower, exhausted from the day's events. "Hey," I called out. He turned. "You missed a spot." He looked where I was pointing, then back at me, confused. "Under the security desk," I explained. "There's a camera there. If Victor's people come back, we need a clear view." Understanding dawned on his face. "I'll take care of it." "Mason?" He paused. "Next time something like this happens, tell me before it shows up at our door." "Our door?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer, just turned and walked away. But we both knew something had shifted. The next morning, I found a cup of coffee on my desk, made exactly how Mom used to make it for us. The note beside it read, "Thank you for not giving up on me, even if I deserved it." I took a sip, surprised to find my hands shaking. The coffee was perfect, just like Mom's. Maybe some things could be rebuilt after all. The FBI sting took 3 weeks to set up. I watched from my office as Mason met with Victor's men in our company lobby, wearing a wire under his janitor's uniform. "You're sure about this?" Isabella asked, standing beside me. "If anything goes wrong—" "It won't," I said with more confidence than I felt. The meeting started normally enough. 2 men in expensive suits trying to look casual while talking to a janitor. But I could see Mason's hands shaking as he mopped around them. "Boss wants his money," the taller one said, just loud enough for the wire to pick up. or the information, your choice. I told you, Mason replied. I need more time. Time's up. The shorter man stepped closer. Victor knows you're working for Wolf Tech now. Either you start feeding us their trade secrets or... The FBI burst in right on cue. Within seconds, the lobby erupted into chaos. Agents swarmed in from every entrance. The two men tried to run, only to find more agents waiting outside. But something went wrong. A third man, one we hadn't known about, emerged from the bathroom. He took one look at the scene and charged straight at Mason. I was moving before I could think. The elevator would take too long. I ran for the stairs, taking them two at a time. You rat! The man screamed, throwing Mason against a wall. You're dead! I burst into the lobby just as he pulled something from his jacket. The metal of a gun caught the fluorescent lights. Hey, I shouted. Everyone froze. The man turned, gun wavering between Mason and me. You must be the sister, he sneered. Victor sends his regards. Tell Victor he can have his money, I said steadily. $2 million plus interest. I'll wire it right now. Too late for that. He aimed at Mason. Boss wants to send a message. Shoot him. You'll never see a penny. I stepped closer. Kill him, and I'll spend every dollar I have making sure Victor goes down. Or... I pulled out my phone, take the money, and walk away with a win. His eyes darted between us. Mason was still against the wall, bleeding from where he'd hit his head. $3 million, the man countered. Wire it now. Done. I pulled up my banking app. Account number? Just then, an FBI agent tackled him from behind. The gun went flying. More agents swarmed in, and within moments, all three of Victor's men were in custody. I ran to Mason. You okay? He touched his head, wincing. Why did you do that? Put yourself at risk. Because you're my brother, you idiot. The paramedics insisted on checking him out. As they worked, an FBI agent approached me. Ms. Wolf, we got them all, including Victor. Your brother's testimony and the wire recording will put them away for a long time. I nodded, watching Mason argue with a paramedic about going to the hospital. Some family drama you got here, the agent added. Don't see many CEOs offering to pay millions to save the janitor. He's not just... I stopped. Actually, he's one of our most valuable employees. Later that night, after the chaos had died down and Mason had been cleared by the doctors, I found him cleaning up the mess in the lobby. You don't have to do that, I said. Go home. Rest. I want to. He wrung out his mop. Helps me think. About what? About how I ended up here, cleaning floors in the company my sister built while she offers to pay my debts. Again. Mason... No, let me finish. He leaned on his mop. 5 years ago, I thought I was protecting you from failure. Instead, I was the one who failed. At business, at being a brother, at everything Dad taught us about integrity. I sat on a nearby chair. You know what the difference is between us? When I failed, when you took everything, I learned from it, grew from it. And I just kept making the same mistakes. He nodded. Until now. Until now, I agreed. So what happens next? He asked. With the company? With us? I stood up, straightening my jacket. That depends. Are you done making messes I have to clean up? For the first time in years, I saw a genuine smile cross his face. I think I'm better at cleaning up messes these days. Good. I headed for the door, then paused. By the way, the project management position is opening up again next month, if you're interested in applying. Really? You'll have to interview like everyone else, I warned. No special treatment. I wouldn't want it any other way, he said softly. As I left, I heard the steady swish of his mop resume. My brother, cleaning floors in my company. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. The position is yours, I said, closing Mason's interview file. If you want it. He sat across from me in the conference room, where he'd just finished his final interview for the project management role. The panel of department heads had voted unanimously in his favor, not knowing he was my brother. They chose me fairly? He asked. No influence from you? None. Though I have to admit, your presentation on improving our supply chain efficiency was impressive. He smiled slightly. I learned from the best. Watching you build all this taught me more than my MBA ever did. Isabella knocked and entered with a stack of papers. Sorry to interrupt, but the acquisition papers are ready for your signature, Celeste. Mason stood to leave, but I stopped him. Stay. You should see this. I signed the papers with a flourish, then slid them across to Isabella. Make sure these get to the lawyers today. What did I just witness? Mason asked. I just bought Dad's company. I watched his face carefully. Or what's left of it. He sank back into his chair. You... what? The company you ran into the ground? I'm going to rebuild it, not because I need to, but because it was Dad's legacy. And maybe it's time both his children honored that legacy. Together. Together? His voice cracked. You'd trust me with that? Trust is earned, I said firmly, and you've earned back some of it. The question is, can you handle working under your little sister's leadership? Before he could answer, Layla rushed in. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She turned on the conference room TV. A breaking news story showed Victor and his associates being led into court in handcuffs. Crime boss Victor Santos and associates indicted on multiple charges, the newscaster announced. Sources say testimony from a former business associate was crucial in breaking the case. I muted the TV. Looks like you're finally free of them. Mason watched the screen. Because of you. You saved me, even after everything I did. That's what family does, I said simply. Or at least, that's what family should do. I've been thinking about that night, he said quietly. When I drove away with everything. I told myself I was protecting you, but really, I was scared. Scared you'd succeed where I might fail. Scared you'd make Dad prouder than I ever could. And now? Now I know I was right about one thing. You didn't need that inheritance to succeed. You did it all on your own. Not entirely on my own, I corrected him. I had help. Christian, Taylor, Isabella. People who believed in me when my own brother didn't. He flinched at that, but I continued. The difference is, they supported me without trying to control me. They helped me grow instead of holding me back. I understand that now. He straightened in his chair. So, about the project management position and Dad's company, what exactly did you have in mind? I pulled out a business plan I'd been working on. We rebuild it from the ground up, not as a subsidiary of Wolf Tech, but as a partner company. Separate but allied. You'll run point on the project, reporting directly to me. That's generous. It's practical, I corrected. You know that business inside and out. And despite everything, you're still a wolf. We just need to do things differently this time. How? With integrity, with innovation, and most importantly, together. He nodded slowly. I'd like that. But Celeste, I need to say something I should have said a long time ago. He met my eyes. I'm sorry. Not just for taking the inheritance, but for underestimating you. For trying to clip your wings instead of helping you fly. I know, I said softly. I forgave you the day you put on that janitor's uniform and actually tried to earn your way back. Taylor poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt this touching moment, but the board is waiting. I stood up. Ready to face them, as a team this time? Mason straightened his tie. Lead the way, little sister. As we walked to the boardroom, I caught our reflection in the glass walls. The two of us side by side, finally walking in the same direction. Not as rivals, not as victor and vanquished, but as siblings who had found their way back to each other. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about growing beyond the person who wronged you, and helping them grow too. Hey, Mason, I said as we reached the boardroom doors. Yeah? Welcome home. He smiled, and for a moment, I saw the brother I used to know. The one who would push me on the swings and check for monsters under my bed. The one I'd finally found again. The one who was finally ready to follow instead of lead.
Something wasn't right. I stared at the photo in my trembling hands, trying to make sense of the gnawing feeling in my gut. The baby in the picture had my nose, my chin, but something felt off. Maybe it was the post-delivery hormones talking, but I couldn't shake the sensation that this wasn't the same child I'd held in my arms just hours ago. I'm Addison, and this should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, I found myself sitting in my hospital bed at 3 a.m., obsessing over a hospital photo while my newborn daughter slept peacefully in the bassinet beside me. You're being paranoid, I whispered to myself, but the doubt wouldn't leave. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. My sister Victoria's perfectly coiffed head poked through the door, despite the late hour. Still awake, sweetie? You should be resting. I couldn't sleep, I admitted, quickly tucking the photo under my blanket. Something about Victoria's overly concerned expression made me uneasy. She'd been hovering around the maternity ward all day, insisting on helping with everything from diaper changes to photos. Where's Ezra? Victoria perched on the edge of my bed, her designer perfume overwhelming the sterile hospital smell. He went home to shower and grab some supplies. I glanced at my sleeping daughter, that protective instinct surging again. You're here late. Victoria's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Just checking on my favorite sister and niece. The night nurse let me in. We got chatting earlier. My stomach clenched. Victoria had always been the perfect one, the sister who had everything figured out. Except for one thing. She couldn't have children of her own. The doctors had confirmed it years ago. You should go home, I said firmly. Visiting hours are over. Don't be silly. Family is different. She reached for the baby, but I shifted slightly, blocking her path. Something flickered across her face. Anger? Frustration? The night nurse, Shanice, saved me by walking in. Time for vitals, Mama. Oh, hello again, Miss Thornton. I'm afraid you'll need to leave now. Victoria's smile turned brittle. Of course. Sweet dreams, sis. She kissed my cheek, lingering a moment too long. After she left, Shanice checked my vitals, then paused. Your sister's been around a lot today. Too much, I admitted. Shanice hesitated, then spoke quietly. Earlier, I saw her near the nursery station when I was updating records. She said she was lost, looking for the cafeteria, which is in the opposite direction. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Paris. How's my goddaughter? Need anything? I typed back quickly. Can you come first thing tomorrow? Something feels wrong. What do you mean? Paris replied instantly. Just come, please. I picked up the photo again, studying it in the dim light. The baby's eyes were brown in the picture, but when I looked at my daughter sleeping beside me, her eyes were unmistakably blue, like mine and Ezra's. Shanice, I called softly. The photos taken in the nursery, who handles them? The photography service uploads them directly to our system. Why? Could there be mix-ups? With the photos, I mean? Shanice frowned. It's all digital now, tied to the baby's ID bracelet. Pretty foolproof. She glanced at the photo in my hand. Something wrong? I shook my head, not ready to voice my fears. Just new mom jitters, I guess. But as Shanice left, I carefully compared my sleeping daughter's features to the photo again. The differences were subtle. The shape of the ears, the curve of the mouth. Small things nobody else might notice. But I noticed. I reached for my phone again, this time pulling up Victoria's social media. There it was. A post from just an hour ago. Best aunt ever. Welcome to the world, precious angel. But the photo she'd posted, it wasn't the same as mine. The baby looked different, more like the child I was looking at now. My hands shook as I took a picture of my sleeping daughter and compared it to Victoria's post. 2 different babies, 2 different photos. The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet. I remembered Victoria's strange behavior all day, her hovering around the nursery, her convenient friendship with the night staff, the way she'd insisted on handling the photography paperwork to help out. I touched my daughter's tiny hand, and her fingers curled around mine instinctively. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that something was very wrong, and my sister was behind it. I don't know what you're up to, Victoria, I whispered, but I'm going to find out. Paris arrived early the next morning, coffee in hand, just as Ezra was helping me pack our bags to head home. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. Spill it, she said, settling into the visitor's chair. You barely slept, did you? I handed her both photos. Look at these. Really look. She studied them, brow furrowing. They're different babies. Thank God you see it too. I turned to Ezra, who was organizing discharge papers. Tell her what you told me this morning. Ezra sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Addie, we've been over this. Babies change appearance in their first few days. You're exhausted and... Don't patronize me, I snapped. I know my own child. Paris stood up, placing herself between us. Okay, let's think this through. What exactly happened yesterday? I recounted Victoria's strange behavior, the nursery incident, and the social media posts. With each detail, Paris's expression grew more concerned, while Ezra's became more skeptical. Your sister's been through a lot, Ezra said gently. Maybe she's just overexcited about being an aunt. Or maybe she's finally lost it, Paris muttered. A knock at the door interrupted us. Victoria swept in, carrying a massive flower arrangement. Ready to go home, Mommy? Actually, I said, keeping my voice steady. We were just discussing the baby photos. Victoria set down the flowers, her smile never wavering. What about them? I held up my phone. Your post shows a different baby than the official hospital photo. Don't be ridiculous. She laughed, but it sounded forced. I just used better filters. Filters don't change bone structure, Paris interjected. Victoria's eyes flashed. I don't appreciate what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, I said. I'm stating facts. You've been acting strange since I went into labor. Hanging around the nursery, befriending staff, insisting on handling paperwork. Because I love you, Victoria's voice rose. Because I wanted to help. God, is this how you thank me? With accusations? Ezra stepped forward. Everyone needs to calm down. I am calm, I said. I'm also not stupid. Shanice saw you near the record station yesterday. Victoria's face hardened. That nosy nurse should mind her own business. You know what? I don't need this. I've done nothing but support you, while you've always been jealous of me. Jealous? I laughed incredulously. Of what? Your failed marriages? Your inability to— Don't! Victoria's shriek cut through the room, making the baby stir. Don't you dare! Paris moved protectively closer to the bassinet. I think you should leave, Victoria. Victoria grabbed her purse, hands shaking. Fine. But remember, Addison, you're not the only one with access to lawyers. Be very careful what you accuse me of. After she stormed out, Ezra turned to me. That was unnecessary. Unnecessary? Paris scoffed. Did you see how defensive she got? I was already reaching for my phone, scrolling through contacts. I need to talk to someone in hospital administration, now. Addie, Ezra pleaded, you're going to create a huge problem over nothing. Nothing? I showed him the hospital bracelet photo I'd taken last night. Look at the number sequence, then look at this morning's. I pulled up another photo. They're different. Paris and Ezra leaned in. The difference was subtle, just one digit off, but it was there. Jesus, Ezra whispered. Still think I'm being paranoid? Before anyone could respond, Shanice hurried in. Mrs. Rogers, there's something you need to know. I was reviewing last night's logs, and there's a discrepancy in the nursery records. Someone accessed them using my login during my break. My heart stopped. When? Right around the time I saw your sister near the station. Shanice twisted her hands nervously. I've already reported it to security. Ezra sank into a chair, finally looking shaken. This can't be happening. Oh, it's happening, I said, pulling out my laptop. And I'm not leaving this hospital until I know exactly what Victoria did. Paris squeezed my shoulder. What do you need? First, I need Turner's number. He's that lawyer friend of my mom's. And then? Ezra asked quietly. I looked at my sleeping daughter, fierce protection surging through me. Then we find out what other lies my sister's been telling. Because this is just the beginning. The room fell silent, except for the soft beeping of monitors and my daughter's gentle breathing. In that moment, I knew nothing would ever be the same. But I was ready for war. Turner's office smelled like old leather and coffee. He studied the hospital documents spread across his desk, occasionally adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. This is serious, Addison, he said finally. Tampering with medical records is a felony. I know. I shifted in my chair, grateful Paris had offered to watch the baby so I could meet with Turner privately. But I need proof before I make any accusations. What about the DNA test results? Turner lifted a paper from the stack. They're Interesting. 3 days after leaving the hospital, I'd secretly ordered maternal DNA tests for both me and my daughter. The results had arrived that morning. Interesting is one word for it. I leaned forward. How is it possible that my daughter and I share different maternal genetic markers than Victoria? Turner removed his glasses. There are several possibilities, the most likely being that we're not full sisters. The words felt strange in my mouth. But that's impossible. Your mother might have some explaining to do. Turner pulled out another document. I did some digging. There are inconsistencies in both your birth records. A knock interrupted us. Shanice entered, still in her scrubs. Sorry I'm late. My shift just ended. Thank you for coming, Turner said, gesturing to a chair. Can you walk us through what you witnessed that night? Shanice nodded. I was doing my rounds when I saw Victoria at the nurse's station. She claimed she was lost, but I'd seen her there before. Later, I checked the computer logs and found someone had accessed the records using my credentials. Could you see what they changed? No, but... Shanice hesitated. I did notice something odd. When I was helping with the newborn photos, Victoria kept insisting there was a mix-up with the ID bracelets. She was very persistent about rechecking them. My hands clenched. She was creating confusion on purpose. There's more, Shanice added. The next morning, I overheard her arguing with someone on the phone. She said something about fixing a mistake and making things right. Turner scribbled notes. Did you report this? Yes, but... Shanice looked uncomfortable. Yesterday, hospital administration told me to drop it. Apparently, Victoria's husband is on the hospital board. Of course he is, I muttered. Victoria's third husband was some hotshot executive. She'd made sure everyone knew it. My phone buzzed. A text from Ezra. Your sister just showed up at the house. Says she wants to talk. Don't let her in, I typed back. I'm on my way. Turner gathered the papers. We need more concrete evidence before we can proceed legally. But Addison... He paused. Be careful. People who manipulate records usually have bigger secrets to hide. I rushed home to find Victoria sitting on my porch steps, makeup perfect as always. Ezra stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. We need to talk, Victoria said, standing. About what? How you tampered with hospital records? She flinched. You don't understand. I was trying to protect you. Protect me? I laughed harshly. From what? From the truth. Victoria's voice cracked. About our mother. About everything. What truth? I found letters, she said quietly. Years ago in Mom's study. Letters that proved... She took a shaky breath. We don't share the same father or mother. The world tilted. You're lying. Am I? She pulled out an envelope. The DNA test results you secretly ordered? I had them done years ago, too. That's how I knew. Ezra stepped forward. Wait, what? Our mother isn't my biological mother, Victoria continued. She adopted me after marrying my father, but she never told anyone. She let everyone believe we were full sisters. So you decided to mess with my baby's records? I demanded. How does that make any sense? Because I was angry. Victoria's composure cracked. You got everything I couldn't have. A baby, a happy marriage, our mother's real love. I thought if I could just create enough doubt about the hospital records, you'd feel what I felt. That uncertainty, that fear. You're insane. I moved toward the door. Get off my property before I call the police. Fine. Victoria straightened her designer jacket. But this isn't over. Ask our mother about July 15th, 28 years ago. Ask her what really happened that night. She walked to her car, heels clicking on the pavement. Just before getting in, she turned. Oh, and Addison? Those DNA results? They're just the beginning. There's so much more you don't know. As her car disappeared down the street, Ezra touched my arm. What do we do now? I pulled out my phone, dialing a familiar number. Now we talk to my mother, and this time, she better tell the truth. July 15th? My mother Paisley's hand trembled as she set down her teacup. Who told you about that date? I sat across from her in her pristine living room, where I'd spent countless Sunday dinners, pretending we were the perfect family. Victoria did, right after admitting she tampered with my baby's hospital records. She did what? Paisley's face paled. That's impossible. Victoria would never— Stop! I slapped the DNA results on the coffee table. No more lies. Tell me what happened on July 15th. Paisley stared at the papers, her carefully maintained facade cracking. I never meant for either of you to find out. Find out what? That night. She closed her eyes. That was when I brought Victoria home from the hospital, not as a newborn, but as a 3-year-old. The room seemed to tilt. What? Her mother, her biological mother, was my best friend. She died in a car accident, and Victoria's father couldn't cope. He and we grew close during the grief. We married 6 months later. And you pretended she was yours? Just like that? It was different times, Paisley defended. Victoria needed stability. We gave her a new start, a clean slate. By lying? I stood up, pacing. What about my father? Does he know? Paisley's silence was deafening. Mom? Your father. She twisted her wedding ring. The man you think is your father, he isn't. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. What? It was a brief relationship. He was married. When I found out I was pregnant, I never told him. Your father, the man who raised you, he knew. He chose to love you as his own. My phone buzzed. A text from Turner. Found something in the records. Come to my office ASAP. I have to go, I said, gathering my things. Addison, please. Paisley grabbed my arm. You have to understand. Understand what? That my whole life is a lie? That Victoria knew before me? I yanked away. Did you know what she was planning at the hospital? No. But Victoria, she's always been fragile. When she found out she couldn't have children, that doesn't excuse what she did. Of course not. Paisley's voice cracked. But she's still your sister. No, I said coldly. Apparently she's not. Turner's office was cramped with Paris, and Ezra already there when I arrived. Files covered every surface. Look at this, Turner said, pushing forward a document. Victoria's original birth certificate. Her biological mother's name is listed as Margaret Winters. My mother's best friend, I confirmed. Here's where it gets interesting. Turner pulled up another file on his computer. Margaret Winters didn't die in a car accident. She disappeared. The police suspected foul play, but could never prove anything. Paris leaned forward. What are you saying? I'm saying someone went to great lengths to create a new identity for Victoria. And your mother was involved. My phone lit up with a text from Victoria. Found Mom's old diary. You're not going to believe what's in it. Meet me at the park in an hour if you want the truth. It's a trap, Paris warned when I showed them. Probably, I agreed. But I need to know. I'm coming with you, Ezra said firmly. The park was empty, except for Victoria, sitting on a bench with a worn leather book in her lap. I knew you'd come, she said without looking up. Curiosity always was your weakness, just like manipulation was yours. I stayed standing. What's in the diary? The real story. She finally met my eyes. About how our mother stole me from my real mom. About how she convinced everyone Margaret had died. About how she built her perfect little family on lies. You're lying. Am I? She opened the diary. July 15th. Margaret won't let go. She's threatening to tell everyone. I can't lose my family now, not after everything I've done to create it. My hands shook. That doesn't prove anything. No? Victoria pulled out more papers. These police reports might. Turns out Margaret didn't just disappear. She was last seen arguing with our mother, the same mother who suddenly had a new daughter days later. Why are you doing this? Because you deserve to know what kind of woman raised us. Victoria stood. And because now you know how it feels to have everything you believed in torn apart. She held out the diary. The truth hurts, doesn't it, sister? Or should I even call you that anymore? I took the diary, my world splintering into pieces. This isn't over. No. Victoria smiled coldly. It's just beginning. The handwriting changes halfway through, Paris said, examining the diary under her desk lamp. Look at these entries from before July 15th compared to after. I leaned closer. She was right. The earlier entries were looser, more flowing. The later ones, including the damning entry about Margaret, were tighter, more controlled. Victoria could have forged it, Ezra suggested from across the room, where he was rocking our daughter. Maybe. I rubbed my temples. But what about the police reports? Turner spread the yellowed documents across the table. I've been making calls. The detective who handled Margaret's disappearance is still alive. Retired now, but he remembers the case. What did he say? That your mother was the prime suspect, but they could never prove anything. Margaret's car was found at a bus station. Security cameras showed her getting on a bus to Miami, but the trail went cold there. My phone buzzed. Another text from Victoria. Found Margaret's sister. Want to meet her? Don't respond, Paris warned. She's playing games. No, I stood up. She's trying to destroy our mother, and I need to know why. I called the number Victoria had sent. A woman answered on the second ring. Hello, Addison, she said. I'm Rachel, Margaret's sister. Victoria said you might call. Is it true? My voice cracked. About my mother? Meet me at the Golden Cup Cafe in an hour. Bring the diary. The cafe was quiet. Just a few afternoon stragglers nursing cold coffee. Rachel looked startlingly like the photos I'd seen of Margaret. Same dark hair, same sharp features. Victoria showed me the DNA results, she said after I sat down. You're not Paisley's biological daughter either, are you? Apparently not. I placed the diary on the table. Did you know about this? Rachel picked up the diary, flipping through it. Some of these entries, they're in Margaret's handwriting. What? The early ones. This was her diary. Look at the first page. There, faded but clear. Property of Margaret Winters. I don't understand, I said. Why would my mother have Margaret's diary? Because she took it, along with everything else. Rachel's voice hardened, including Victoria. But why? Paisley couldn't have children. She'd tried for years. Margaret was her best friend, recently divorced, struggling as a single mother. Paisley offered to help, to babysit Victoria. Then one day, they both disappeared. And Margaret? Followed them, confronted Paisley, then vanished. Rachel pulled out an envelope. But she didn't die. She sent me letters, for years, trying to find Victoria. The last one came 3 months ago. My hands shook as I opened the most recent letter. The handwriting matched the early diary entries perfectly. She's alive? Was. She passed away last month. Cancer. Her last wish was for Victoria to know the truth. Rachel paused. What I don't understand is you. Where do you fit in? I don't know. I thought of Victoria's words. The truth hurts, doesn't it? But I'm going to find out. My phone lit up. Ezra. Your mother's here. She's hysterical. Says Victoria threatened to go to the police. I have to go, I told Rachel, but I need copies of those letters. Take them. She pushed the envelope across the table. But be careful. Paisley's already destroyed one family. Don't let her destroy yours too. I found my mother pacing my living room. Mascara streaked down her face. Victoria's lost her mind, she said when she saw me. She's threatening to tell everyone about Margaret, about the adoption. You mean the kidnapping? I held up the diary. Margaret's diary? Paisley froze. Where did you get that? From her sister. Rachel says hello, by the way. You don't understand. Then explain it, I shouted. Explain why you stole your best friend's child. Explain why you lied about my father. Explain why my entire life is built on your lies. Because I had nothing, Paisley screamed back. I couldn't have children. My husband was leaving me. Margaret had everything I wanted. A beautiful daughter, a fresh start. So I took it. And me? Where did I come from? Paisley sank onto the couch. A mistake. An affair with a married man. When I found out I was pregnant, it was like a miracle. I finally had what I wanted. 2 perfect daughters. Though built on perfect lies. Victoria's voice came from the doorway. We hadn't heard her come in. Should we tell her the rest, Mother? About what really happened to Margaret that night? Paisley's face went white. Victoria, please. No more secrets, Victoria said coldly. It's time for the whole truth. Tell them what happened at the bus station, Victoria demanded, her voice shaking. Tell them what you did to my real mother. Paisley clutched her designer handbag like a shield. I never meant the truth. Victoria slammed her hand on the coffee table, making us all jump. Or I will. She followed us, Paisley whispered. Margaret. She tracked us to the bus station, said she'd call the police, tell them I'd kidnapped you. She looked at Victoria. I couldn't let that happen. So what did you do? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. I had sleeping pills. I put them in her coffee while we talked. Told her I'd bring you to say goodbye. But instead, Paisley's voice cracked. Instead, I put her on that bus to Miami. Made sure she was seen on the cameras. Then I drove her car to a storage facility 2 states away. Where you kept her until the pills wore off, Victoria finished. Locked in that storage unit for 3 days. My hand flew to my mouth. Oh my God. When I let her out, Paisley continued, I told her if she ever came back, I'd tell everyone she'd abandoned her daughter. That she was an unfit mother. I had documents. Forged, but convincing. No one would believe her over me, the respected doctor's wife. You monster, Victoria breathed. You destroyed her life. I gave you a better one. Paisley stood up. Private schools, luxury vacations, everything she couldn't provide. She was my mother. And what about me? I cut in. Was my father really married, or was that another lie? Paisley wouldn't meet my eyes. He was my doctor, during my fertility treatments. The room spun. My father is your fertility doctor? Was, Victoria said. He died last year, never knowing he had a daughter. How long have you known all this? I demanded. Since I found the storage unit receipt in Mom's old papers. I tracked down Margaret last month, but she was already sick. Too sick to fight anymore. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. She died thinking I didn't want her. Ezra, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. Is that why you tried to take our baby? Revenge? Victoria laughed bitterly. I wanted Addison to feel what my mother felt. That panic, that helplessness. But I couldn't go through with it. In the end, I just switched some photos, created doubt. Like mother, like daughter, right? She glared at Paisley. I did it for love, Paisley pleaded. No, I said. You did it for control, and now you've lost everything. My phone buzzed. Turner. Police want to talk to all of you. Margaret's sister filed charges. Rachel called the police? Paisley went pale. Of course she did, Victoria said. Did you think you'd get away with it forever? Paisley grabbed her purse. You can't prove anything. It was 30 years ago. Except Margaret wrote everything down. Victoria pulled out a stack of letters. Every detail, every threat, every manipulation. And now the police have copies. Red and blue lights flashed outside my window. Car doors slammed. I loved you both, Paisley whispered. Everything I did. Save it for your lawyer. Victoria cut her off as officers entered the room. I watched them lead my mother away, reading her rights. Victoria stood rigid, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, I said softly. About everything. Me too. She wiped her eyes. I never should have involved your baby. I was so angry, for so long. What happens now? Now? Victoria looked at the letters in her hand. Now we find out who we really are. Without her lies between us. Ezra brought our daughter over. and I held her close, breathing in her sweet baby smell. "She's beautiful," Victoria said. "I really am sorry about the hospital. I'll tell them everything, make it right." "I know." I touched her arm. "We're not sisters by blood, but we're connected by something else now." "What's that?" "The truth, finally." Outside, the police car pulled away, taking with it the woman who'd orchestrated our entire lives. But as I stood there with my daughter, my husband, and the woman who'd grown up thinking she was my sister, I realized something. Sometimes family isn't about blood or lies or perfectly crafted stories. Sometimes it's about facing the truth together, no matter how ugly it is. "Stay for dinner?" I asked Victoria. She nodded, managing a small smile. "I'd like that." The courthouse hallway buzzed with whispered conversations. 3 months had passed since Paisley's arrest, and today was her preliminary hearing. Victoria sat beside me on the hard wooden bench, both of us watching people file into the courtroom. "She's going to plead guilty," Turner said, approaching us with his briefcase. The prosecutor offered a deal. "How much time?" Victoria asked. 5 years, with possibility of parole after 3. Given her age and the time passed since the original crime, it's fair. Rachel appeared, clutching a worn photo album. "I brought these, pictures of Margaret with Victoria. I thought, maybe you'd want to see them." Victoria's hands trembled as she opened the album. "I remember this," she said, pointing to a photo of a young woman pushing a toddler on a swing. "The park near our old house. I used to think it was just dreams, but your mother took you there every Sunday," Rachel said softly. "She packed peanut butter sandwiches and read you stories under the big oak tree." A court officer called us inside. As we filed in, I caught sight of Paisley being led in through a side door. She looked smaller somehow, her designer clothes replaced by plain navy blue, her perfectly styled hair now showing gray roots. "All rise," the bailiff announced. The judge entered, and the proceedings began. I barely heard the legal terminology being exchanged until Paisley was asked to speak. "I'd like to address my daughters," she said, her voice wavering. The judge nodded permission. "Victoria!" Paisley turned to face us. "I convinced myself I was saving you, that giving you a privileged life justified stealing you from your mother. I was wrong. My selfishness destroyed 3 lives. Yours, Margaret's, and Addison's." She shifted her gaze to me. "Addison, I should have told you about your father. Dr. James was a good man. He never knew about you because I was afraid of losing everything I'd built. My whole life became about maintaining the perfect image, no matter the cost." "Save your confession for someone who cares," Victoria snapped, standing up. "You're only sorry because you got caught." "Victoria," the judge warned. "No, she needs to hear this." Victoria pulled out Margaret's last letter. "My real mother died thinking I hated her, that I chose you over her. Do you know what that did to her? To me?" Paisley crumpled in her seat. "I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't give me back 30 years." Victoria's voice cracked. "Sorry doesn't erase the nightmares, the confusion, the feeling that something was always wrong." I grabbed Victoria's hand, squeezing it tight. "And you," she turned to me, softer now. "I almost did to your daughter what she did to me. I became exactly like her, so obsessed with revenge that I almost hurt an innocent baby. I'll never forgive myself for that." "But you stopped," I reminded her. "You chose to be better than her." The judge called for order, and the formal sentencing began. When it was done, Paisley was led away, but not before calling out one last time. "The safe in my study," she said. "The combination is your birthdays. Everything you need to know is in there." That evening, Victoria and I stood in Paisley's study, staring at the wall safe. "Ready?" I asked. She nodded. I entered the numbers, and the safe clicked open. Inside were 2 envelopes. One labeled Victoria contained adoption papers, real ones never filed, and a letter from Margaret written the day before the kidnapping. The other, marked Addison, held my original birth certificate and a photo of my biological father. "He has your eyes," Victoria said, looking at the picture. "And your mother had your smile," I replied, watching her read Margaret's letter. Victoria wiped her eyes. She knew Paisley was planning something. That's why she wrote this, trying to explain everything to me. She never abandoned me. No, she didn't. I touched the birth certificate. Just like my father never chose to abandon me, Paisley stole those choices from all of us. So what do we do now? I looked at my phone, at the recent photo of my daughter with Ezra. We make different choices. Better ones. Victoria nodded, carefully folding Margaret's letter. I have something to tell you. I'm moving to Miami. Rachel found Margaret's old house there. It's for sale. Are you sure? I need to know who I am without Paisley's lies, without the anger. She managed a small smile. But I'd like to stay in touch. Be real sisters this time, by choice instead of manipulation. I hugged her, both of us holding on tight. I'd like that too. As we left Paisley's house for the last time, Victoria turned to me. You know what the worst part is? What? She really did love us, in her twisted, destructive way. Yeah, I said, locking the door. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to love people enough to tell them the truth. The Miami sun beat down as I helped Victoria hang the last family photo on her new wall. In it, Margaret beamed at the camera, holding a toddler Victoria in front of that old oak tree. Perfect spot, I said, stepping back. Victoria touched the frame gently. Rachel says Mom used to spend hours in this room, reading to me. She looked around the sunny living room of her mother's old house. It feels right, being here. My phone buzzed. A text from Paris. Ezra says the baby won't sleep without her story. Video call? Mind if I take this? I asked Victoria. Are you kidding? I need my daily niece fix. We settled on the couch as I called home. Ezra's tired face appeared, our daughter fussing in his arms. Someone misses her mom, he said. And her aunt, Victoria added, leaning into frame. Hey, princess! The baby's face lit up at our voices. As Ezra read her favorite story, Victoria's doorbell rang. That'll be Rachel with the rest of Margaret's things, she said, heading to answer it. But it wasn't Rachel at the door. It was an older man, distinguished-looking, with familiar blue eyes. My eyes. Dr. James, I breathed. I got your letter, he said. I hope it's okay that I came. Victoria appeared behind me. I'll give you some privacy. No, I said quickly. Stay, please. We moved to the living room, where Ezra and the baby were still on video call. Is that? Ezra asked. My father. My biological father. I turned the phone so he could see. Meet your granddaughter. Dr. James's eyes welled up. She has our eyes. I'm so sorry about the letter, I said. I know it must have been a shock. Finding out I had a daughter? That Paisley kept you from me? He shook his head. I should have known. She was unstable even then, but I never imagined she'd go so far. Did you love her? Victoria asked quietly. I cared for her. She was my patient, desperate for a child. I broke every ethical code by getting involved. When she stopped coming to appointments, I assumed she'd moved on. He looked at me. If I had known. You didn't know, I said firmly. Just like Margaret didn't know what Paisley would do to Victoria. One person's lies destroyed so many lives. But not anymore, Victoria said. That's why I bought this house. To reclaim what was stolen, not just from me, but from my mother. And now you two can build something new. Something real? Dr. James pulled out an old photo. I found this in my records. The day Paisley first came to my clinic. I never connected it until I got your letter, but look. In the photo, a much younger Paisley sat in a waiting room. Behind her, barely visible, was a woman with a small child, Margaret and Victoria. They were there the same day, I realized. The day it all started, Victoria said, when Paisley saw what she wanted and decided to take it. But that's not how family works, I said, looking at my father. then at Victoria, then at my daughter on the screen. Real family is built on truth, not lies, on choice, not control. Dr. James cleared his throat. I know I can't make up for lost time, but if you're willing, I'd like to try. To be part of your life and my granddaughter's. I'd like that, I smiled. We can start now. Stay for dinner? Victoria makes amazing lasagna. Margaret's recipe, Victoria added. Rachel found her old cookbook. As Victoria headed to the kitchen, I showed Dr. James, Dad, around the house, pointing out the photos, sharing stories. Ezra kept the video call going, letting the baby babble at her newfound grandfather. Later, as we sat around Victoria's dining table, I looked at these people brought together by both tragedy and healing. My sister by choice, rebuilding her life in her mother's home. My biological father, tentatively stepping into his role as parent and grandparent. My husband and daughter joining us through a screen, but present in every way that mattered. To new beginnings, Victoria raised her glass. And to the truth, no matter how hard it is. To family, I added. The kind we choose, not the kind we're forced into. To healing, Dad said quietly. As the Miami sunset painted the room golden, I felt the last pieces of Paisley's web of lies dissolving. In their place was something stronger, a family built on honesty, forgiveness, and choice. Victoria caught my eye and smiled. Without words, we both knew. This was what real sisterhood felt like. This was what real family meant. And no amount of lies could ever compete with that truth.